Hi, YouTube. I have a confession to make, and it has nothing to do with all the stupid innuendo that I just put in my title. YouTube, I'm sorry. I'm sorry I failed you. I know nobody's there right now. I can literally see that I've only just gone live, and we're like mid-explanation. I was saying, YouTube, I'm sorry. I failed you. Tuesday's stream happened. It happened on Twitch only because right at the beginning of stream, while I was on, this totally flattering ass cam, it's so flattering. I look like a meatball sitting on a stool. Anyway, we were on this totally flattering camera, and Uo's Lab, UWOSLAB, no apostrophes or anything, Uo's Lab. You guys should check them out. He's a fellow East Coast streamer. He does science and tech like we do, even though we're in just chatting right now, the Twitch category, just so we can blanket a couple more views. I'm desperate. He's not. Very extremely popular and successful and wonderful YouTuber, Twitch streamer, Twitch streamer, very popular, cool guy to boot. Met him anyway. Rated with about 400 people, 495,000 million people. It was like 480 or something. Just an absolutely crazy amount of people to suddenly drop on your stream when you haven't done any of your setup. The YouTubers don't know that, number one, I'm playing music right now. It's LTJ Bukum, one of my favorites. Two, I do a little bit of setup and I hang out with the Twitch chatters for just a little bit, because Twitch is easy. I don't need a thumbnail for Twitch. I can just go live, right? Hold on, let's connect. We still need to connect to chat in YouTube. So auto find and activate. See, all these things that I have to do. I have to make a thumbnail. I have to move my title over. I have to start the YouTube stream. That's the minimum. That's what I have to do with Twitch. But then I also have to hit find the chat because it's a unique URL every time. I wouldn't have to touch Social Stream Ninja at all if that were the case, weren't the case. So anyway, Uo's Lab comes in here with 900 million people, and we did a pretty good stream, I think. I think we did a decent stream. Hold on, I got a cough. Tiny piece of McDonald's French fry found its way into that interstitial space between the little valve that directs airflow either to your stomach or to your lungs. And it said, hey, what's down here? And it did a nutty putty with my fucking lungs. I'm just going to enjoy the cool, crisp taste of an ice cold Coca-Cola. 0 sugar. Coke, pay me money. Just the substance. I don't mean Coca-Cola Incorporated. I mean like the cocaine, pay me money. Coca tea is actually really good. But then you have a bunch of Coca tea and you're like, I don't feel the effects at all. After college, I did a trip to Peru, and all the Peruvian hotels had just like coca leaves and hot water because everybody loves Coca tea. And so there was at one point when my father, who I went on the trip with, was doing something, and I just had a hurry up and wait situation where I was just sitting there. Now I got on Twitch and YouTube, echoing sound. I have echo effects. I'm in a giant concert hall. But yeah, so I sat there and I stuffed a bunch of leaves into the cup, and I poured hot water on them, and I drank 1 cup, and I drank 2, 3, 4. And by the time he got back, I'm like, hey, so you're finally back. All right, let's go do stuff. It's like, you just, oh my God, it sneaks up on you. It's no wonder they decided to mix it with gasoline and a bunch of other bullshit. And then render it into a powder. All right. This is for the CAN bus hacking. We'll just have to remember where we left off with that. I was going to do that today, but I need to like finish one of the mechanical mounting things, and so we can move on to other stuff. And I figure it's probably in good health for me to get multiple hashtag AutoCAD ads this month, so that I don't really have to worry about my copy expiring. I don't think AutoCAD's that militant about it, because like there was some scare where they had some kind of like a license update for everybody, and I emailed the guy because I emailed the guy because I'm terrible at like Slack. I can't do it, man. I can't do Slack. I haven't opened up the Slack in a little while. I probably should do that and see what's going on. but that's supposed to be for me to like collaborate with other streamers. I can't even do that like normally on Twitch. I barely. Uo's Lab is the one that came down from on high, whose countenance divine smiled upon me and said, "Hey, I'm gonna be in Philly," and I'm like, "Oh, cool." He's like, "You want to meet up?" I'm like, oh yeah, let's do that. The Scandinavians in my channel I relate to very much in terms of social awkwardness and spacing and distancing, which is an unfortunate thing when you're in this extroverted kind of job. But anyway, so yeah. There was a scare and I emailed the guy and the guy was annoyed because everybody was pinging him about it. And apparently he was like, "You're fine. You're all fine. Don't worry about it." And there have been times, at least, and I haven't been tracking it. I don't know where they keep track of when I put hashtag AutoCAD ad. They handle that on their end. So, you know, AutoCAD's been a kind of a really cool company to have on my side in terms of like having a free copy of the software and using it for that. It's been really cool because they've been totally hands off. I haven't. They were interested in me because I do electronics with Fusion Eagle, and I've barely used it since then. It'll come back. We will use it. That is like that's a given. But I use Fusion 360 for like everything. I use it all the time. 2016, I think it was. My chat, none of you guys, they're all gone. They got lives and they're like successful now. Unlike you guys who are still here. They decided to start the Discord that some of you are in. The Discord was not started by me. That was started by OctoJ. And he did that in order to coordinate the regular people that watched the show. There was like 15 people. And he got them all in a Discord and they decided to pool some money. They all donated a little bit of money. And apparently some people donated a lot of money. And they were gonna buy me a 3D printer because all I could say about 3D printers in 2015, 2016 was that they suck. We can't even print in 2 dimensions, let alone 3. My opinion has completely turned around on that. 3D printers are better at printing than 2D printers, and the environment for them can be much more open. It seems like a couple companies, Bamboo, are trying to kind of like close it down and turn it into like an HP situation, but the overall, like the cat's out of the bag. All the technology's out there and all the parts are cheap. You can build a printer from nothing, or you can buy a cheap printer and keep upgrading it until it doesn't resemble its former self. That's what I did. They were gonna buy me a printer, and it turns out I didn't get a printer, and so, or I was gonna get a printer from a friend, and so they pooled their money and they sent me a bunch of weird stuff. Like I got the solder. This is the hot air station, I think, is the only thing that they sent me that I still actually super duper have, and I forget why I brought that up, but that's the same Discord as I have now. But yeah, anyway. I don't do Slack and all that. I don't do, you know, all that stuff. Who knows? Yeah. Anyway, Uo's Lab rated, and it was a big deal that I had to entertain all those guys. So all those people. And so I couldn't bring myself to do the thumbnail and the going live on YouTube thing. I just didn't do it. And I continued on stream to entertain everybody. What we did last stream is unconscionable. It would curdle your milk. We're never going to talk about it again. No, what did we do last time? We did, I basically did the, hey, look at my shop, because I have to do that for the uninitiated. And then we played with the chair a little bit. We put power to the chair, and we got the chair moving back and forth. We looked at the shifter, and I showed everybody my fuck button, because in the Arduino serial print, when I hit the park button, it just prints fuck, the word fuck. We're 2 minutes into the YouTube video, so, oh no, 2 minutes duration of views. Really? People see me for 2 minutes and go, ugh, and then leave? Current viewers 1, yeah, that's me. Views 2, so one other person viewed and said, nope, I'm out. My stream sucks. Anyway, so, we looked at this thing a little bit. I showed Uo's people this a lot of last stream, and it's going to be on the Twitch VODs for a little bit. I don't think I want to upload it to YouTube. I could do that. It takes me a ton of time for the upload because YouTube doesn't give me high bandwidth. I don't think people will watch it. And then I have to do like minutes on it, which I think I can do with AI at some point, and I don't know how to do that. But like give people like places where they can get into the video because it's like a 4-hour video. I don't know. But anyway, we were looking at this stuff when we were trying it within the context of the seat. The seat is speaking CAN bus, but it's speaking a particular type of CAN bus that's BMW uses called KCAN. KCAN can be 500 kbps and it can be 100 kbps. 100 and 500 do not get along because the 500 kbps is communicating so quickly that the 100 kbps packet is like it's like an eternity, right? So what I'm gonna have to do is make a device that goes between the two CAN buses. And so we'll start to spool our Arduino up to do that. The microcontroller thingy that I bought, the cheapo CAN bus line thing, that can be told to only look for particular packets on a CAN bus. And so if it finds that packet, it'll let the microcontroller know that in its buffer, it has a packet. And so the microcontroller doesn't have to sit there and listen to everything. So we could put that on the 500 kbps CAN bus, have it tell the micro, hey, I got something in my buffer. And the micro can go, show me your buffer. And then it can translate that over to a 100 kbps signal and then poop it into the butt of my chair, right? So we're gonna work on that at some point, but I figured in order to keep alive the hashtag AutoCAD ad, I've never heard a single thing about them tracking how many I've done. I'm supposed to do 2 streams every 3 months, and it has been question mark months, and I've done question mark streams. It is insane how tightly I control pills that go into my body, when I have to inject drugs, all of the insulin that goes in, I track and log very, very carefully. And then I completely just go completely ditzy on a sponsor for the show. I'm sorry. You can even just see by the sentence structure of what I've just said, it probably reads like a Donald Trump speech. It's completely incoherent, and I'm jumping around topics so much. It's a gish gash that doesn't intend on confusing you. It's an attempt to sound clear and in control, but it belies a complete disorganization of mind beneath it. Whew. Anyway, how's chat? How are you guys doing? Nobody said anything. I've been deep into my psychosis. I'm sorry. Yeah, thank you. Fart me out of it. Yeah, we got Haystack doing a 7-stream streak. Line 2186 last stream gave me 1,000 bitums, which you take 2 zeros off. That was $10. That's an incredible amount of money, and I don't know why you gave that to me. Sorry for the silence. I'm doing dishes and making a sandwich. How fucking dare you, you chatter? God, I can't even, like, why? What am I doing here? If you can't take time while doing things in real life to chat with me. God damn it. You ever see those clips of like those super entitled Twitch streamers that do that? I can't even believe it. They have like 300 viewers and they're like, nobody watches my show. And I was like, what are you talking about? I don't know how they do it. And they get on stream and they just talk bullshit the whole time. How do I get that? I guess I need to bot my way to that many viewers, that many natural viewers. I'll have 2 people typing into chat and I'll have 600 viewers. How about that? There we go. I have to do this whole song and dance to actually get to the desk because for some reason I'm building this giant freaking thing that sits in the middle of the floor. Sometime in the near future, I'm cleaning this thing off and I'm wheeling it out of here. So this will sit there. I'm so sorry. I'll do a Japanese apology. Get a dog, get a ukulele now, and apologize to me. Giga rambling energy. Yeah, I'm not feeling like my head is in a vice today. I may have been sick the past umpteen time because after my brother dropped this chair off, apparently his wife and one of his daughters got mono. So I don't know what's going on there, but I definitely hadn't been feeling right for a little while. I'm back. I had got enough sleep that I feel awake-ish. So yeah. That's the second time you've used the word giga. Have you been watching Moon? Dun, dun, dun. I'm gonna put a clamp on this before it unplugs itself, and we never know what the pinout is ever again. Where did that one clamp that I threw one over here? Oh my God, this is what happens, kids. Parents, don't let your kids anywhere near aluminum or a milling machine, or else this is what you're gonna have to deal with. All of this. And if you guys think that my bandsaw is scary, you should watch some of those videos where those guys in Afghanistan break down like chamber pots and make them into cookware. Where they melt aluminum as cookware, which really aluminum should not be in your food, anywhere near your food, but they do it, and they mix all kinds of weird metals in. It's scary, man. Everybody's wearing sandals in an environment like this, where the chips are twice the size. Insane. I've had a bunch of those come up in my feed, and I've been reluctantly through one eye covered, the other one looking for PPE, watching those things. There was a fourth. I'll just get another one. Reaching precariously over all these sharp metal objects. These things are great for electronics. I don't know why I keep them all the way over there. It's all those gigs of DDR4 I'm thinking about. He's got dollar signs in his eyes. Look out. Those steel mill videos with the guys in sandals, no PPE and an open pit where the flame is. They've literally got like propane running down into like a pit, a literal pit of dirt. And then there's just an open, like, just hellfire coming out of this thing. And these guys are like, there was a dude with like a pot, and he was skimming the molten metal, and he would skim with like a flat plate that was welded to a bar. He would skim the molten metal, pull it up, let it cool, and he's standing there in sandals. This is red hot metal. Waits until it gets unred hot and then flicks it into a pile. Oh my God. Like, oh my fucking God. When do they unionize? When do they unionize? Sorry, I don't want to get an algorithm on my ass. It's just insane. Proper sweatshops. I assume those guys get paid, but I don't know if they get paid a lot. And I think, yeah, hey, I got a doctor's appointment is probably grounds to look for a new job. And you can tell only the places where they get really, really gnarly injuries do you see actual footwear. Crazy, crazy. The food production ones are even worse. They're throwing foodstuffs on the floor, wearing sandals around them. Those videos are as much rage bait as they are actual crimes. And there's a bunch of them. There's a bunch of them. If you see an AI image of a steel forge, you know what you're going to get into clicking on the video. Horrifying. Fascinating, horrifying. Oh, we're not like that here. That's just our culture. Oh, your culture is fucking tripping over. Well, I guess if you're barefoot, there are no shoelaces. But, ow, I stepped on a metal chip. Oh no, I've fallen into a forge. Like, holy crap. Holy crap. Regulations are written in blood most of the time. Sometimes they're basic common sense, but other times they're written in blood. Sometimes it's like, hey, put a handrail on the People Crusher 5000. And you're like, yeah, that makes sense. I'll put a handrail on the People Crusher 5000. And sometimes it's, hey, somebody fell into the People Crusher 5000. We should put a handrail on it. All right. I haven't actually like listened to this song, so hopefully it's not doing anything weird in the background. Oh, no. If you get cuts and bruises or anything, you're out. Oh, is chat not coming up over here? It's not. That one does. It's this one. I may need to just refresh the cache. cache the chat. And then test the chat. No, it's still not coming up. Why? Why you do this scene? Hold on, let me go to the scene itself in studio mode. Let's give you guys a view of that. And then we'll bring down to frameless chat. Oh, why did it turn off? You know what it was? I pressed chat hide. That must be what it was. That one. Yeah, that one's fine. Does that actually show up over there? No, because I don't have that scene active. Yeah, okay, cool. That's fine. That's all the stuff in the background. Those sub scenes are what make those little windows work. Spelled wrong and Twitch still censored it. They didn't censor it. And I'll tell you it's fine. See? Test successful. Testicles. Testicles. Testicles successficals. Testes. Watch Wallet Keys phone. I'm sort of annoyed that I don't have a proper CAN bus gas pedal, because that would be just a plug and go thing. And at the same time, they're probably like $60, considering this one was like $20. It shows up as blue asterisks for me. Here, let me try my password. Maybe if I type in my password into chat. Yeah, see, it just censors it. I type my password in plain text, and it censors it into stars. Wayne Johnson with 450-month watch streak with a 5-stream streak. Bom, bom. Bom. Oh, that's a 7. Yeah, that's a 7 TV. 7 TV for some reason is still not functioning. I have to get to the bottom of it, but I'm also way too lazy to look. This is the struggle of our times. I got to get 7 TV working because, you know, it's one of the basics. Here's the other debate of the day. Not the master debate of the day, but it is one of the debates of the day. Is whether or not I whether or not I put the aluminum bar into the brake setup, because we saw the amount of force that this thing is able to put forth. Even when I do like 6 layers surrounding the brake pedal, it's enough to kind of crush stuff. Although I think this one got the enhanced number and it didn't give out before our 2 posts did. So, well, does it look like, I mean, it does kind of look like I'm working on the project right now. I'm starting to move in that direction, but stream is not officially started yet. You see, when you see a stream that has a countdown timer on it, and I say this over and over again, and people who have heard it before are rolling their eyes, but there's somebody new every single time that needs to assert for some reason that if I am actually broadcasting data to Twitch Incorporated and doing the chicken wing while I'm doing it, that if I'm actually broadcasting data to Twitch, that counts as streaming. But for me, I'm more of a purist in that if I'm working on the project, that counts as the stream. So that if you want to miss the intro when I just kind of chew the fat with chat, talk about random shit. We talk about random shit anyway, right? But mostly I'm focused on the project when we're actually streaming, when we're actually rolling. We're doing both of those things right now. I lack the words to describe what I mean. You'll have to interpret it. It's not that hard. But the point is, we're just sort of in the intro area where I let people gather. And then when we actually start, I will explain to everybody what I'm doing. So that's sort of how it works. And so the stream starts soon. you can skip ahead on the timeline until this thing goes away and I start talking about stuff. I've been pretty good about that. Back in the day, I used to forget to turn it off, but I just like the big pop-up. I made the big pop-up because I'm petulant and immature. So if you say stream starts soon and maybe a couple of other little iterations of that, it'll blow it way up in your face. You have a complaint because it says stream starts soon, and yet the stream has already started, but project starts soon doesn't sound as easy as stream starts soon, and also you don't get the S's on all three of them. Oh, another thing, not to harp on the coat thing, but I told my friend about that yesterday. The color of my coat is very unfortunately appropriated by the Proud Boys, who are the most masculine organization I've ever seen in my entire life. Oh, those are men's men. You know, those guys just only the company of men. They're men's men. Those fucking racist assholes. They got chased out of Philadelphia by a couple teenagers, like 100 of them. They didn't even get out of the van. I was just so proud of my city. But their coats are like the same, like navy blue that the coat that I wear is, and my coat has HH on it. What did I do? I should have gotten a different coat. The other color for that, I think, was black. But no, it was orange. Why didn't I get orange? I like orange. Anyway, I think it looks nice, and it has a big fuzzy 1970s style collar. But maybe I should get a heat gun and peel off the double H on it, because I'm accidentally dog whistling to racists who I want nothing to do with. Let's find out what a CAN bus gas pedal costs. eBay. Go. F10 gas. We've looked this up like yesterday. I just forget. 40 bucks, 20 bucks. Somewhere in the $40 range, I guess, to get one that's in decent shape. And does the F10 gas pedal speaks CAN bus, I believe. So that would be a direct swap in, or I put a microcontroller on it and I program it to speak of the CAN bus. And it's as simple as that. We just give it the same codes as the gas pedal. Oh, bother goes stomp, stomp. That's in reference to the title. My fetish bait title. Yeah, we're doing gas pedal stuff, which is notorious. You have a dog too. Oh no, I have a dog. That means I'm dog whistling all the time. It's so stupid. During the whole era of Let's Go Brandon, it was like they were like toddlers. Some of my friends were like, let's go Brandon. And it's like, dude, you can just say fuck Joe Biden. I don't care. Like, it's not gonna hurt me. Like, you don't need a code word for that. Stomp. Willow does not like it when I stomp my feet like a petulant toddler. She gets very scared. Oh, I also don't know what kind of chain this is still. We looked at chains with McMaster Carr, and we did not find any chains that resembled that one. Where are we going to find that kind of chain? I mean, static electricity section. Boy, oh boy, am I getting distracted today. I have all kinds of stuff to talk to you about. Mostly because I slept well. If I sleep, I guess my brain works a little better. I'm going to write my local scientists because they should make a paper about that. Bandsaw blades, hacksaw blades. I ordered the 2 beams that I need, and we're going to have to cut them at some point. And I think that extra inch I can make up for in the way that they're attached to one another. This reminds me that I still want to do a USB foot pedal, but with a real car pedal stuff, but also a lot more things. Yeah, so the real car pedals, you can just get pedals from a real car. Like they'll typically be in like their own setup. The gas pedal might be separate, and it depends on whether or not you Well, it all depends on which ones you get and how you want to adapt them to being like, because I put a load cell in mine, but you could also, you know, play with like the hydraulics in it. I never got that Brandon shit, didn't care enough to check. News reporter was saying something and then somebody yelled, you know, fuck Joe Biden, and the news reporter didn't get it, and they said, oh, are they saying let's go Brandon? And then all of the weirdos that get into this whole like outrage culture thing where every week they're mad at something new, like Mr. Potato Head, picked it up like fish to water. They picked it up, and so they were all giggling to each other and saying it as if everybody else didn't already understand what they were saying. They thought they had a secret thing to themselves because they didn't consider that everybody else thought it was so stupid it didn't garner acknowledging. So the low bar gets lowered further, and it's down there with fucking dinosaur bones. And no, I'm not getting owned by conservatives. I am simply disappointed with how stupid things have gotten. Oftentimes that response that I just had is misinterpreted as getting owned, quote unquote. No, you guys have already owned me by killing me through healthcare. Where are chains? Soft bends, no. Chains, I'm looking for like chain, just generic hardware store chain aisle. McMaster is easy to browse. It's got big pictures, but here we go. Chain. This is in pulling and lifting, which the chain that we're looking for is a little bit more decorative. It's more like a door lock chain, so we might not find what we're looking for here. Stomping chains. No. Static chain. We're looking for this type of chain. You can find it at like Ace Hardware, but the Ace Hardware by me closed down. I could go to Home Depot, but that's a little further, and I just don't want to go to Home Depot and find this stuff. This is like your basic, you know, corner store, hardware store chain. I'm just trying to buy a little bit of it so that we can put it on my chair, so that when I get up out of my chair, the resulting static electricity from the piston of the chair does not, and this is what's happening, it does not restart my computer, get it caught up in its restart sequence that then is unable to acknowledge my graphics card and uninstalls the drivers, and then I have to go reinstall the AMD drivers to get my graphics to work again. It is so annoying. I have an SSD. The computer restarts in an instant. It's a fast compute, well, fast as of 2020 computer. It restarts very nicely. I'm gonna burp. I burped. Padlock and hanging chains, I guess. This is as close as we'll get. Machine chain, sash chain. Not the chain. Well, that was the one I was looking for. Flat link chain. That's what it's like to search for stuff on the internet these days. God damn it. I'm looking for. This is the right code. That was the wrong word. $56. Cool. Sign me up. 74. Cool. Sign me up. 77. Sign me up. Oh my God. Furniture chain. I guess I'm gonna just have to get like a padlock chain, cut it. Tool chain. Chain is made of welded links, which are stronger. Sash chain is flat links that have been stamped into shape. I was pretty much looking for sash chain, but the keywords are all over the place. The reason behind sash chain being good for static is that the links are in contact with each other as it moves around. You can't assume that two open loops are going to necessarily always mesh. I blame Microsoft, not it's their fault, but they're easy to blame. Yeah, they are pretty easy to blame. That's true. You just blame them. True. In my country, they have an app for hardware stores where they show you the location of the store. Never search for your part again in the store. I feel like the big box places do that. I just it's a big hullabaloo to go to one of those places, right? It's this big deal, and you got to do all this walk around and stuff. And I should take Willow there because that'll help socialize her a little bit, keep her from being so skittish about everything. $8 though. I'm in for like $5. I don't know. I'll keep it open and maybe I'll buy it later today, but that's what I've got to use to unstatic my stuff. Yeah, okay, we're way over time. Hold on. Get ready to start soon. I've been on 10 different subjects today. I got a bead shop in the neighborhood. That's where I get my keychain parts. They do jewelry parties. That's kind of cool. All that kind of stuff. Yeah, so for me in where I am in the Northeast, the classical way to do this would be to drive to your local, town hardware store, which is just like a little smallish kind of store. It's not like a giant warehouse. The big chain warehouse places have displaced them. In the big chain warehouse, you walk way to the back of the store where there's like skeletons and stuff, and there's this giant display of chains that are all in this rotating chain spool thing, and if you press the button to move it, you could get crushed and destroyed by a giant industrial machine. So you get an employee to come over and they'll go over to the right chain and you do the length and then they'll cut it and they give it to you and you go all the way to the front of the store and they go, what chain is this? And you go, I don't know. It's just the one from back there. And then you go all the way back to the chain aisle and you write the number down on your hand and then you walk all the way to the front of the store and you go, okay, I got the number. It's, I can't recognize my own handwriting. I'm sorry. And I have to kind of type it in and look it up. And then they finally say that'll be $5 and you give them $5. You get a whole big receipt. And then you get the person at the door to put a mark on the receipt to say that you're not stealing stuff from their store so they don't literally execute you on your way out. And then you get back in your car and you drive 45 minutes home. Or you would go to the local hardware store and it's this little tiny mom and pop place. And you go, I'll look for a chain. They're like, it's over there. And you go over there and cut your own length, come to this gas register and go, okay, that's $6. And then you leave. That's the experience that it should be. But nowadays, you don't do any of that. You look online and you get really frustrated at keywords until you buy something that's not for the purpose that you're really intending it, and you modify it and then throw out all the stuff you don't need. Or you think about doing that and then you never do that, and that's where I am. And then the next year rolls around and once more you're sitting there in January going, I'd better get up very carefully or else the piston in my chair is going to generate so much static electricity, it's going to uninstall my AMD graphics card drivers. Somehow through the HDMI cable. It's shielding. Because I don't have a ferrite bead on it. Weird. This whole situation is weird and extra, and it shouldn't be a thing, but it is. Very strange. Oh yeah, they've got like their hydraulic or like electric bolt cutters that you're not allowed to use. Yeah. So anyway, what are we doing today? Well, I mean, my title was a little tongue-in-cheek, but not much. In order to get this whole simulator system running, I should start over. What I'm trying to do is use all the tools at my disposal, which has grown over the years. I've got quite a bit of stuff that I can do here, but the cool thing that I would like to do is to make a simulator setup. Now you can go and you can spend probably $3,000 right now and you can get a really cool simulator setup with all of the, fancy company pedals and all that stuff, which I found out, by the way, they source that stuff from China for pennies on the dollar. There's whole catalogs where you can have very, very cheap simulator setups that look exactly like the ones that you can buy from the companies that simply silkscreen their logo onto it. Anyway, so I tried to do that, but the problem is tariffs and shipping will make fools of us all down the line. Everything was too expensive. And so, I should start over. I have been messing around with sim setups for quite some time. We've done a lot of actual car part hacking in order to get luxury car parts to function as computer game controllers. And so people build these big frame rail rigs. My original one clipped to the side of the desk. And so we have a Mercedes-Benz steering wheel. I have BMW pedals, a BMW gas pedal too. That's what this is right here. And we reverse engineered them because they're not that hard to, especially BMWs, everything is known about them. Reverse engineered them and got them to work for our nefarious purposes. Then my brother buys a coworker's car. He buys an M5, and I say to him on the phone, I says, brother of mine, do you know that there is no more of an expensive car than a cheap BMW? And he goes, haha, that is very funny, brother of mine. You have bested me in this game of wit. However, your platitudes and symbolisms do not fall upon my ear. And he goes out and he buys the car for himself. He was like, do you want to buy this car? No, because it's going to be so expensive to get the high mileage maintenance done. So he buys the car. And the next phone call I get, he says, I have put as much money as I spent on the car into the car. And I went, I fucking told you so, you idiot. But he doesn't care. He's got a good job. He makes plenty of money. And he has a 5-car garage and every tool you could imagine. He's like me if I had space. But anyway, so the point is, weird that two brothers would be like that. Anyway, the point is he was fixing up this car for all the high mileage maintenances, and he happened to saunter by the exact same model of car as his, only the interior was the luxury interior. And so he went, and he took the whole interior out of that car on the spot, bought it, brought it home, took the interior out of his car, swapped it, and then he had his interior sitting around, and he said, I don't know if his intent is to sell it or if it's just taking up space, but I was like, man, I could really use that chair. And you know, Christmas is rolling around and you never know what to get me. So I guilted him a little bit, just a little. I put on the taps, the little brother taps, just a little bit. You're a little brother. I'm destitute and I don't make any money. And you have a seat, you have a whole car seat. And it would go perfectly with my setup. And so he comes around on Thanksgiving and he basically drops off 50 pounds of pure responsibility on my lap. During the holiday season, I ended up sourcing all the frame rails. It turns out McMaster Car was the best place because all the local places that I would have loved to spend money on, because, you know, support your local businesses. There's an industrial park nearby that has all kinds of cool stuff. And one of the cool businesses there is one that does safety screening for factories and stuff. And so they're sourcing this stuff. They're doing, you know, parts quotes and pre-cut beams you can pick up and all that stuff. So I went to them. Their quote was not incredibly reasonable. It wasn't the Chinese source of all of the other ones, but I would get more generic beams that I could cut up and have extras and stuff like that. And I figured, you know, hey, local business and all that stuff. But again, it was the holiday season. It was that time between Christmas and New Year's, when the office is just empty. It's my favorite time to be, you know, in your 20s and still going to work to get a paycheck, because you get in there, you get a cup of coffee and you don't have to do anything. Nobody's around. You can't get anything done and it's just quiet. You just get a nice like study hall all day. I love that. This introverted bother loves that kind of thing. But anyway, so that was my favorite holiday season. But the problem is I was on the other end of that this time. So nobody was picking up calls. Nobody was responding. I had to cancel their quote, all that stuff. And I was pricing it out with a bunch of different places. Okay, this place can do it, but they charge $400 shipping. The shipping costs were legitimately like $300 from some of the places. If you're overseas and you're looking to do stuff with frame rails, I'll catch up on chat in a sec. If you're overseas and you're looking to do stuff with these frame rails, JLC Industrial, JLC PCB, again, pay me, please. All of these places that I talk positively about could send me a paycheck. We can make this official. Nobody sponsors me except Fusion. This is a hashtag AutoCAD stream. We're going to get to AutoCAD. The Industrial JLC PCB sells this beam, and the prices are insane, but the shipping is also incredibly insane. I don't know if they're bunching up all the shipping together or if they're lump summing each individual item as its own shipping, because legitimately I priced out the beams and it was $400 in shipping, which is around what I spent on the beams. I don't want to admit that. I don't like putting a price tag on projects. It's terrible. Why buy a regular car when you can buy a BMW for twice the price? The good thing about the BMW, in spite of my saying that it's bad to buy a cheap BMW because they will be very expensive, if you maintain them, they maintain their drivability. They don't like you. Okay. Yeah, there's a service life for the shocks, right? And you've got to replace the shocks, and it's never cheap. It's easy to do. It's never cheap. It's easy to do if you're comfortable around a spring compressor. Be really careful around spring compressors, especially because if you get the ones that are just 2 clamps, the clamp can walk around the spring and then the other side of the spring unsprungs, and there's just like biblical amounts of force in car springs. Anyway, aside from that, the shocks have a shelf life, right? How pretentious of BMW. But like, if you replace the shocks when they tell you to, the car feels like it's new, right? That I've experienced this with my station wagon. My friend said, cool, you bought my station wagon. Here's all the parts I have for it. I'm like, oh, you have shocks for it too? I was driving around in the thing and the back end was just like doing this on all the bumps. I replaced the shocks and it's like smooth as butter, right? It's a big deal. That's a big upgrade for any car. But again, like these are the things like, oh, I have to replace the entire radiator. Well, yeah, if you don't do that, the plastic is going to get brittle and then break around the interface between the plastic and the aluminum. And then you dump all of your coolant on the road, which you really don't want to do. So if you keep up with the maintenance, it can be expensive, but they're good cars for that price. I'm not going to say they're unique and special and super duper. It's fucking BMW. They are the most mass-produced cars on the planet. There's a 330i on every continent, right? Like everywhere you go. It's like blades of grass. It's like guns in America. They're everywhere. They're fucking everywhere. And they're fucking everything up. But anyway, so BMW is an okay car. The reason I go with BMW is, again, they are so prevalent that every atom of that car has been either studied or documented. And you can find schematics, you can find people working on them, you can find pinouts, you can find every single thing you would ever need to reverse engineer that car. Now, other car companies are like that. VW people be like, oh, you can do that with VW, GM, whatever. Fine. But I know BMW, my friends, it's because my friend group is all BMW nerds. And so I know all of those systems, I know all those websites, I know how to get that information. It has been indispensable in making something that feels like a luxury car. See, that's the important part. It's not just car parts. I want something that feels like a luxury car. So, comfortable seat, big leather steering wheel with a lot of buttons on it, a lot of cool featurey buttons on it, right? A shifter that feels like a luxury shifter. We 3D printed the shifter, and actually, it feels like I'm looking for it. I don't know where it is. That's over there. We 3D printed the shifter, and it feels just like a regular car shifter. The problem with this whole schema of using real car parts is that I'm not going to go and buy a transmission. That would be very funny and cool, and I would really enjoy that if you could see the synchros as I'm like flipping into gear on, because the shifters that I'm familiar with are on cables. So you get like a 2-axis on the cable, and then the cables lead to the transmission housing. And if you could cut away all that weight and stuff, or just like re-engineer, put like a box around it that you could see, you know, shifting it all the gears. That would be very cute. But I don't want to go through all that trouble because the transmission's like huge and expensive. It would be very, very funny though. But I don't want to do that. So we 3D printed the transmission. Some of these shifters that you can 3D print, they've got like whole like rotating transmission-y things to try to feel like a real shifter. We got enough of the real shifter just off of something somebody shared for free on not on Thingiverse. No, it is on Thingiverse. We had to modify it a little bit, but yeah. I had the poor man's BMW, a Ford Taurus SHO. A friend of mine had a Saturn back in the day when Saturn was still around, and I was always a little jokey with him. He actually has the same car that I do now. It's just not a station wagon, but we work on cars together, and I was always a little jokey about a Saturn until it came time to replace the brakes. And I went, all right, let's schedule a whole afternoon. We're going to replace your brake calipers. There's going to be something about it that's a little weird, and we're going to have to use all of our English sockets, and you know, it's a piece of shit car. And so I go to work on the Saturn, and I take the wheel off, and I look at what's in front of me, and I go, oh, everything is just here. It's just really simple. And I just doot, new calipers, put it all back together, and it wasn't even lunchtime. I was like, what happened? Saturns were really well-designed cars, if I'm honest. They were super easy to work on. It's sort of like the 1980s Porsche was like, just here's car. Whereas on not necessarily more modern stuff, but different stuff, you'll have weird things going on, and you'll run into all these problems. And I just didn't do that, not with the Saturn. Weird, right? I don't know. Anyway, the point is, as much as possible, I like using actual car parts. And my brother drops off this BMW F10 car seat. Turns out a lot of the simulator folks love getting the luxury version of the seat. It's got like a massager in it, and it's got a heater. I don't even know what this has. This might have a heater in it. But anyway, the point is that started off the whole build this thing out of frame rails. So I sourced the 4040 rails, and they are extremely super duper crazy strong. And then I started playing with mounting the pedals. And at first I thought I was going to have a flat mounting surface, because the 2020, 4040, 8020, there's English and metric standards, and there's more common, there's less common ones. Most of the simulator setups that you see that use frame rails use 3030 rails, and that is not what we are using. We are using 4040 rails, because 3030 rails are a little bit less hard to source. If you're in China and you're building this to sell overseas to source some other company's logo going on your product, you don't care about the unavailability of hardware for 3030, which is 30 millimeter by 30 millimeter rails. You just want to put together the structure as cheaply as possible. So you don't use 4040 because that's more material. You use 3030, put the whole thing together, sell a bunch of them overseas, boom, you got a business going, right? That's all fine. When I was looking at this stuff, it's like 3030 rail. I could barely find that stuff, so I'm not using it in the system. I'm using 4040. 4040 is for if you are building something that people are going to be walking and jumping and dancing on. This is crazy. This is crazy, super duper, stupid strong. The 2020 rail, technically 2040 because it's 20 by 40 rail, is so much smaller than this. The beams would probably bend if I stood on them. So this is the next, I just had to use this, right? Over-engineering has its place, but sometimes it's just not needed. I work in HVACs and groan. When I walk into a service call and it's Lennox or York, oh, are they like they're like the Batman of HVAC? They work just as well as Hreem or Goodman. I think I've heard of Goodman, just through control system stuff, but they're needlessly over-engineered. Yeah, it's, but over-engineering, it really does have, it's especially in industry, because what you do is you really over-engineer all your systems in like a factory, and then when enough dust gathers on all your factory stuff, a belt will vibrate and create dust, and then your factory explodes. I've seen multiple USCSB videos where dust explodes, like any dust. It doesn't matter what the dust is. Oh, this is inert, non-flammable dust. Boom, big explosion. Like, oh my God, that's the best YouTube channel, by the way. UCSCSB has an official YouTube channel. It's an agency that creates these wonderful videos of factory accidents that are recreated. And they have the most buttery smooth announcer voice that you've ever, oh my God, that man. I would listen to him read the phone book. Super masculine, by the way. I'm very masculine. Anyway, so I built it out of this stuff. This stuff was not cheap. This stuff was not cheap to ship, even from McMaster-Carr. McMaster-Carr got it to me in 2 days, which is crazy. That's just crazy. I spent a lot of money, unfortunately. So now I have to make this a reality. This is all me just explaining what the project is, by the way. In terms of mechanical stuff, what we need to do today is figure out a way, maybe without drawing a penis, to get the brake pedal to interface with the vertical beam. The pedals I originally put on a vertical beam, which puts them, for some reason, at an angle, because for some reason the pedal box needs to mount like this, and the master cylinder comes off at an angle. I don't know why they do that. I think maybe they're trying to encourage bubbles to get all the way to the master cylinder. That's all I can come out with, unless the angles in the car are so much different. Do we say idea somewhere? Because the idea light just lit up. Maybe without. I'm not making any promises. 100% I've seen some stuff that I have to say to myself, that's a neat idea, but it's either a pain to replace or costs 4 times the normal counterpart, which is the same as the failure rate. Yeah, it's giga masculine. Sounds like something that Moon would say sarcastically. All right, anyway. The point is we are over-engineering the structure a little bit. It turns out the 4040 rail, actually it's not that over-engineered. It's not that over-engineered. Those of you who are familiar with working out at the gym, maybe you're even doing it properly, the leg press machine. You're sitting on a slight incline and you've got inclined rails that you're pushing a cart up with both of your feet, and you put weights on that cart. And I don't remember, I have a spreadsheet somewhere that I need to look up, how much I was able to actually push up that slight incline. Now it is an incline, so it's not like squat. I'm not like pushing the weight directly up. It's a little different than just like a straight up figure of how many pounds I can move with my feet. You know, how far can I kick a baby? It's not a direct translation because again, the kinematics are going up a slant. But I had something like 445 plates on there, and I am a computer nerd, right? I'm a computer nerd. I program microcontrollers. I don't have leg muscles, but I had 445-pound weights on that thing. That's a lot of force. And so putting that into this system, that's not the system. Putting that into this system where I've got all the beams at 90 degrees to each other, that's a lot of stuff. As an ex-submariner, man, that is such a cool word in the U.S. Navy. I'm glad that our boats, subs, were over-engineered. A little over-engineering goes a long way in a submarine. I mean, you know, you're not putting carbon fiber in that thing. Nobody would. Anyway, the point is these beams are huge, but actually in this area right here for the pedals, they make a lot of sense. And what I'm going to do is I've got 2 beams coming on the way. That was another $70 for 2 2-foot beams. That once we get over the initial expense, I can never think about it again, because things like the Mercedes electrically adjustable steering column, this is $20. This is $300, but I spent that money in 2010. Well, when did My Summer Car come out? What year was that? Somebody get back to me on that, and I'll tell you when I bought this. But yeah, this was expensive because it was a fully refurbished Croatian Mercedes steering wheel, and it's got all the buttons, like up, down, right, left was the important selling point. Phone control, I don't know what I'll do with that. Maybe if I get in on a group call, I could have this control Discord. That would actually be pretty funny. And then shifter paddles were important because I didn't know I would be building a shifter back then. And it's thick. It's thick as oatmeal, man. This stuff's as thick as a stick. I don't know what that mark came from. This thing has been stored on the floor for a long time. But yeah, this is like a nice place to be. It feels good in the hand, nice and girthy. So buying the steering column is something that I did previously, and I cut off the front of the steering column and put that on the 3-phase Mitsubishi servo motor. That is a 2 horsepower motor for a direct drive steering wheel. Well, we're not as direct anymore. Google AI says 20, that's for my winter car. Early access 2016. I think you're thinking of my winter car mixed with my summer car, which is why AI is so awesome. Love you, AI. You're just knocking it out of the park. I love when I ask, hey, when did my summer car come out? And you said, my summer car started in 2016 in early access, and then my winter car came out in 2025. All right, anyway. So yeah, the pedals are at a funny angle, and so we're using that funny angle to kind of bridge the front of the sim rig to the part that holds up the wheel. The wheel is not going to need all that much force to hold it up and keep it straight. This probably would have been fine, but the extra triangulation is going to really pay off for the leg press that I'm going to do into the beam that's at an angle. Everything will shift, and then I'll have to tighten everything down a little bit more. What we've done is we've scanned these pedals. These pedals originally were on like a shelf, an old shelf that I built. It was literally a shelf. It was just this box frame of frame rails that I used as my sort of car floor, and then I had it attached to my desk chair. So when I did put force into braking, it would try to twist the chair. So now we don't need to do that anymore. Oh, and I've also got like a ton of other like sim accessories that will be rolling into this thing. So to mount the brakes, I tried originally to put it onto a 90-degree beam. Putting it on a 90-degree beam, I used a giant 3D print out of PETG. And I always say PETG is strong. It'll hold up your car. Well, it turns out it might not actually hold up your car. It's possible that I could roll over this with one wheel and it wouldn't explode. We messed with some of the infill types, and I didn't do it solid. Is that where that booger went? Yeah, that's where that booger went. This morning I was waking up and I went snarf out of my nose, and something went thump and shot out like a potato cannon, and I couldn't find it. And I'm like, I know that's going to show up at some point, probably in the most embarrassing way. And then I'm showing you guys this 3D print, and I notice there's a mark on the back of my thumb, and I go, did I brush up against one of the sharp burrs on the rails and take another chunk of skin off? And nope, that was a dried booger on the back of my thumb. So now everybody thinks I'm disgusting in chat. Great. I fucking knew that would show up at the worst time. All right, so anyway, we played with the infill, and I would hit the brakes, and then everything would crash down and explode. I had bolts pulling out of their holes. Basically, the master cylinder is supposed to go on these two holes on the other side, and it's got its own giant aluminum plate. And so all of your force goes into that center of the master cylinder against the bolts. But instead, we have it bolted to the frame rail. And so all that force is still going into pulling back on those bolts. And so it pulled out the entire support structure of those bolts. But this part here didn't crush very much. So it's possible that I could make something that's going to adapt from the rail to the center of this opening and have it bolt in, and it's going to look a little bit like a penis. Because what we don't have like a master cylinder. That's the way a lot of people do these setups. If you wanted to do it with real car parts and have it feel like a real car, you would just put a master cylinder in there and just you would have brake fluid in your sim setup. People do that. They do that, but they do that with the pedals that come from the floor. The weird like sim pedals. I want real pedals and I want real car feel, but I don't want to have brake fluid around because that stuff is very bad. That kind of fluid is not good to have around at all. It's you spill it on stuff and it's a very angry substance. It kind of chews away at molecular bonds. So I don't want to have brake fluid around. I've tasted only so much of it in my lifetime. I think what we might get away with is just having the whole thing be plastic, and it'll be a straight shot. It'll be flat instead of slanted like this. And I'll just have the center hole, and I'll add 6 layers to the walls, and then we'll have 2 satellite holes, and I can just bolt it down like that. And as long as this stays flat, the forces should be pretty flat. The rest of the setup is this, and you're going, bother, if this is a load cell, it's a micro electromechanical device. It moves microscopically to the pressure that you apply to it, whether it be positive or negative. You pull or push on this thing. Why do you have a spring? What's the spring doing? Well, first of all, the spring means that I don't need to like make that screw in. It can just kind of sit there. Secondly, this is there to make it feel like a piece of shit. Very simply, the spring is there to make this car pedal feel like you are pushing against hydraulic pressure that has a bubble in it. And you have to compress the bubble enough so that your brakes feel solid and stiff. Or you have a failing brake line, or you have old brake lines that are expanding. One of the other things that you can do that will really benefit your car, but it's a huge pain in the butt, like even more so than replacing the shocks, I would, in the rankings of stuff that I would do to old cars to make them like drivable, replace all the rubber, replace the shocks, new brake lines. Because if you get more modern brake lines that are still flexible, but they don't expand, your brakes are tight. Like you've got a direct interface with those calipers. And if you're on older brake lines, they do wear away. They're not as exposed to like sunlight, but they do get weather and stuff on them, and they have a service life. And replacing them is so annoying. You need to know how to bleed your whole car. Bleed all the calipers in the car. For my car, an early or late 90s. Yeah, it's basically a 2000. It's in the last 1999 BMW station wagon with anti-lock braking systems. You actually need to have the computer, and you need to hook the computer up, and then you need to go through a sequence that'll pulse the anti-lock brakes and shake out any bubbles from it. Otherwise, your brakes feel like what I have here, except on mine, it would sort of bottom out, and then it would continue to bottom out, which is not a good feeling for braking a station wagon. So I had the back of the car bouncing, and then my brakes would go, and it was a weird sensation drive. No wonder my friends sold it. But I did 2 things, which is learn how to bleed the brakes with the computer, and also getting a pressurized bleeder. And then the second one I did was replace the shocks, and now the car drives like a modern car. Oh, and I replaced the steering wheel with my slightly more modern BMW steering wheel. They spoke the same language. I was able to plug it in, and it just worked. So the more modern steering wheel made it seem like an E46, which is alien language to everybody here. Everything's computer. There's very little computer on my car, in spite of what I may be talking about. It's not a totally dumb car. I do have anti-lock brakes, which is nice. But yeah, it's not like a modern car. So anyway, the spring is in there to make it feel like it's kind of a crappy brake system, and it works. It does feel like a kind of crappy brake system that you kind of tap at first, and then if you really press the brakes, it's got like solid feedback. If I wanted this to feel like a totally solid thing, we would be making these links out of metal, and it would just have the load cell in there. I'm not sure how much force I would be putting into that load cell, but it is nice to have some kind of physical indicator. You know, on the F-16, they tried doing the Cytec X65 style control where it was just a load cell, and I have a Cytec X65F. I bought it from a Redditor. Dun dun dun. Yeah, I contacted somebody on the joysticks subreddit and bought their joystick. They said, I guess it's going to go to a good home, and it has. I still use it. Well, we're going to use it on this rig, not the joystick though. We're going to use the throttle. I like the throttle more. But the joystick had just like a normal base, a normal joystick, and it would sense the amount of force that you would put into it instead of actually physically moving the joystick around. I had a big problem with it. You'd be playing a game and you're not really thinking about how much force you're putting into this thing. And so I need to turn more, I need to turn more, I need to turn more, I need to turn more. And then you go, bam, right up against your desk. You punch your knuckles into your desk because the base slips out from under it and you're putting white knuckle force into this thing. It just goes, pop, right on the desk. And it's like, I'm never going to use this thing again. It doesn't give you any indicator that you've gotten to the maximum. I was going to try to do something with like those HD vibration motors so that it would give you like a little buzz when you got to the maximum amount of force. That would probably have helped regulate it a lot more. But if you're not thinking properly, yeah, the dun 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 counter is getting kind of high. I'm just trying to get through all of my thoughts on this subject. I've been embroiled in this stuff for a while. So this was a previous setup, and I was going to bolt this to the 2020 rail. No, the 80/20 rail. So this is an inch standard distance between these two. So we're going to reinvent this sort of phallic back end on this thing and apply it to our more modern system. That's the plan. So last time we were working on brakes, we actually scanned the pedal mount. And actually, this is not what we have currently. What we're going to have is a piece of beam that goes diagonally on this. So I don't know if I need to like discard this and maybe start over. I guess I'm going to keep this. It's just going to become a more cursed setup. If I put like a beam across it. I'm just thinking about what I want to do here. We have this wonderful scan of this stuff, but I don't really have, the only way that I can get it like on axis is to kind of eyeball it. Well, okay, so the pistoning stuff is actually going to be, here, let's get rid of the part that didn't work out. This is the one that blew up. And then, yeah, this is all just brackets. So this is where it's actually mounted. It's mounted at this angle, but it's like across those beams. So I guess what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this top beam here and we're going to move it. So this is Fusion 360, and this is me just noodling around with designs. I don't want to have a giant, comprehensive, permanent model for all the stuff in the simulator setup. I would rather just noodle around with designs and play by the seat of my pants on these things. So I'm pretty much just making this a cursed, completely cursed model. I don't know what's going to happen to this body that's based on the top of this beam, but we'll move it there. And then I think, well, let's measure this angle. What is this angle? So from here to here, 159 or 21. Yeah, so 159 or 21. And I guess I'm going to have to put a flat beam up here and make another bracket. We'll do that later. We'll do that in a minute. All right, so this one, move a copy, and then we're going to go either 159 or 21. So minus, yeah, it looks like it's going to be 159. 159. It's a weird angle. It's just what we eyeballed. That wasn't that. Control Z. Oh, angle math. What would we do without you? So this would be 90 minus 21? No. What the hell angle am I looking for? It's either this one or this one. It's somewhere in both of these ballparks. Here's what, no, I don't think that'll work. I don't think it'll change the angle. If I go dot to dot, it'll keep the angle. So I need, certainly isn't negative 60, although it looks close. What would 71 be? It would be, is that a 45? Okay, I can't do this in my head. Streaming and doing math in your head. And actually, to be honest, I don't actually have to use the calculator. I could type it into that measurement, that angle measurement, and it would do the math for me, the simple math. 180 minus 21 is 59, 159. So that's one of the angles. 45 plus 21, 66, I think is the angle that we're looking for. That's how I do angles. I just guess based on the principal angles and the numbers that we're working with. So this goes to negative 6.1. Oh, it decided to go from a different, you bastard. 21. Nope. 159. Negative. Damn it. Is it going to be some derivative 45? Do you have an IRL calculator on hand? What? Why? I've got Windows 10 calculator is all you really ever need for stuff like this. Except that I'm striking out with this one for some reason. Move copy. This one. Negative 61. That should be the right angle. It doesn't quite look like it. Yeah, that's not the right angle. What's going on here? Oh, you really hate Windows Calculator, I see. Maybe I could do, let's get out of that, and maybe I can just copy this one. Create a copy. Move that down, and then twist it 90 degrees. Okay, this is a much easier way to do it. No more angle calculation. All right, and this goes somewhere behind this as this is going to be our reference for creating. Let's go into an orthographic view so that I can get this as close as I feel comfortable with. This will probably also reveal that my angle's wrong, but we're dealing with hand grenades here. The 3D scan is such that even this is not super accurate. It looks like the angle was actually, yeah, there's like a couple decimal places in there. It could also be that I've misaligned it here too. Actually, that looks pretty good. I'm off by maybe some fractions of degrees. And by the way, we probably should have a beam up here for this to bolt to, because the bolt definitely does go through right here, and that would lend a lot of strength to the triangulation of this entire setup. But so far, mechanically, I haven't been able to figure out how I would do that, so I haven't. We're gonna do as best we can. These rails are very beefy, and so perhaps we can come up with something good this way. Okay, so that's as well in position as I think I can get it. And then I guess we're going to go with the top one being connected. So I'm going to move that up until this right here is even with it. Actually, I can bring in the sketch for that. Where are sketches? We've done quite a bit of work on this previously, but this sketch is just my outline of that part. So now I can align these two. So actually I need to go back to move this. move a copy, and we'll just scooch this thing up until it lines up. Let's get this body out of here. It's confusing. There we go. That's so much easier. And again, I'm not being a stickler for positions and measurements, and I actually can't get an orthographic view of this angle. I don't think you can ortho on weird angles. So I'm just going to kind of eyeball it. It's totally wrong. If I move it forward and then eyeball it. I do kind of wish it kept that measurement in there because I could undo it. And also, I mean, true to form, like this stuff will move around. Like I can wiggle it around and get it to be more or less accurate. Yeah, leave the hard problems for later. I'm gonna leave that to future bother. You can worry about that. Back to ortho, since it's on the principal angle. Move this back. The distance is gonna be a little important. And of course, this angle being off is going to be probably a little important too. The way that I did this was I used these angled pieces. And they've got oval holes. And I sanded down the little posts that are on this, because the posts keep it sort of rigidly in the 90 degrees. And so getting rid of those posts means that I can have this go up and meet the other hole of the brakes, and then I can have big bolts in both of these, and there's enough material on these, and they got the gussets that'll keep it nice and strong. So one of them is bolted directly to the bemis, and the other one is not. It's on a little piece of hardware with bolts that are tightened within an inch of their lives. Okay, so now that all that's done, I'm going to lock the position, and you can't see it, but it's this tool up here representing one of these little machinist squares that's locking it in position, so that if I'm going to move this in the future and it will affect the dimensions of sketches that I do, like if I pull measurement elements from the sketch into from the physical location of the part into my sketch, right? I have to go back to this step and reposition things. If I don't do that, then it'll just move the thing and it won't move the sort of things that your measurement are based on. Fusion 360 is all about the timeline. The timeline can get you out of a lot of trouble. It can also get you into a lot of trouble. You're basically building an algorithm that tells Fusion 360 how to build your part, right? You're putting together this step, you do this. This step, you do this. This step, you put a sketch here. This step, you base these elements off of dimensions that have been lined up already, and then you extrude from this spot and this spot and this spot. Those are all in the timeline, and so if you move something and the elements of the extrusion are off, then it will tell you, hey, there's something wrong in this step. You can rewind time to that step and correct it and tell it what to do, and then it'll do all the later steps for you. So if your dimensions move slightly in real life, you can do that in Fusion, and oftentimes not have to do a lot of surgery on your parts to get it to work properly. Sometimes you just tell it, hey, nope, use this. Other times you have to like rebuild the algorithm. But I believe that it saves more time than it wastes. So anyway, I've got this drawing in there from before from the stuff that we 3D printed, so I need to move this. I guess we're going to do another step that, well, actually what I could do is just go back to this, double click on it, and now my only tools are the modify tools. So click on that part, move it, copy it, and now any of the movements that I do to it will hopefully be logged. There's a lot of previous work in here. You can see a lot of the stuff that's not viewed is like the other load cell and stuff. All these files are very cursed, which is why, again, I am flying by the seat of my pants on this stuff. I am not being a total stickler for actual dimensions and things. So let's do a little orthographic view. Mostly just try to get it close, because the 3D scan was not all that accurate either. Let's go ortho this side. Oh yeah, so it's gonna have to angle, that's right. And that was 21 degrees. Oh, it's for once, it was merciful. So let's see, right about here, right about there, the Funk Soul Brother. Check it out now. I trust, no way it would ever fail. I speak with a lot of authority on this stuff. I do not have a lot of authority on this stuff. Yeah, see, that's out of alignment a little bit. This should be pretty close, though. And actually, the position of the pedal changed. That's what this sort of vestibular line is. So I'm not totally sure this is our ideal distance. It should be a little bit adjustable, though. Boy, that is close, isn't it? That means it'll be a smaller 3D print, and the force will be going directly into it. So maybe I won't need to use the aluminum bar. All right, so let's take that as our location. I mean, we've already got this one here that's got a location on it too. So maybe I should trust. Well, this one could have been off. I don't know. This was just based on the center of the circle that we drew for the outside of the thing. This one is based, they're based on different things, so I don't know. I don't know. I'm guessing, well, the other one is not necessarily, because as it is right now, I can't get to the second rail. We're going to have to bolt it to the one rail. So instead of looking phallic, it's going to look like, you know, like that. And then when I press the brakes real hard, it may want to go that way, which means that's actually the strong axis of the stuff of the rail. Oh, let me get one of the 6mm bolts so we can measure that too. Calipers and bolts, that's what it's all about. I'm going to use 6mm on this one just because I don't think it needs the full 8mm. 8mm can hold up like a whole car. I don't need it to hold up a whole car. My hardware is like going to run thin soon. Oh God, that made a big fuss. That was a spring falling on the floor. Much noise, much noise. All right, let's see, 6mm bolts are, I have a container full of hardware over here. That's not the right stuff. Okay, here we go. I had to repurpose some of this stuff. I want to use these bolts because they're nice and flat, and I bought them. I got these bolts. Polygon hell. Yeah, the 3D scan is not amazing, but if you know its limitations and you work within them, it can be really, really useful. And boy, oh boy, would I love to be using this stuff on a real car project, because you can do some really kind of dangerous stuff. You can really get into trouble. Oh, I need calipers. Calipers that work. My big calipers stopped working. Now I just have the Mitutoyos, which is, again, you know, that's why I buy the Mitutoyos, because they work. They just always work. One time, my Mitutoyos stopped working, and I bought new ones. They're $140, and I will buy them for that price forever. Well, no, they're probably going to be more. But yeah, so we need a bolt hole of probably like 7, maybe 6.5. And then the cap has got to be like a 13 or 13 and a half. So 6.5 or 7, 13. Let's go 713. We just need holes in the middle of our stuff. And we'll go with this. Let's see what the angle should be 90 degrees on this. It's just the positioning of it based on where it bolts to the actual brake pedal may be subject to change, which is why on the actual thing, I am going to have one of these, almost lost the spring. I'm going to have one of these flared out bolts. So we'll have the flared out bolts, then it'll give me an ability to adjust how much pre-tension there is against this spring. So everything will hold together. And then this also helps spread out the amount of force, and it will concentrate it on where it needs to be concentrated. Because if I put force into the outside of this ring, then it's not going to microscopically deflect the metal in the right way and give us a good measurement. We need to kind of keep it on this, this right here, and on these threads and whatever. Kind of looks like spray foam. I once bought some of the spray foam and I didn't know what I was buying. I bought the spray foam and I tried to get a mold of my headlight for my VW. And so I got a loose plastic bag and I put the headlight in the loose plastic bag and I filled up the thing with foam, and the foam hardened, and I came back down the next day and I took a look at the thing and it looked, you know, it had that yellow color of foam, and it turned out the foam that I used was such a dense foam. I expected something like foam rubber. I got rock. It was like rock. It was the most dense I've ever seen foam ever. I don't know what the hell I bought. It was some industrial stuff. But man, I couldn't get the headlight out of it. Like, it wouldn't break apart. I was hitting it with a hammer and nothing would happen. I wrote off the headlight and tried again. It was a headlight geode. Yeah, it was insane. But like, again, I don't know what I bought. I'm scared of it. All right, I'm going to create a sketch on, where do I want to create the sketch? Start it like up here. This is a slightly different one from the one that I actually have, but... Or do I want to start it down here and then go up and meet that thing? I guess we'll start it down here. So create a sketch here. Can't. Oh, because we're actually repositioning right now. Right, we're still in the repositioning step. So, I mean, I'm pretty okay with this. It looks like our 3D scan matches up to the real thing pretty close. If this was in the right position, hopefully it wasn't pushed back a little bit. But we'll find out when we print it, right? I can just do what's called iteration, which is when engineers fuck something up. They will not admit it. They will call it iterative design. Iterative design is when your engineers fuck something up and they don't want to admit that they did. That's as simple as it is. It's just a language barrier. So yeah, they say, well, we expected this result. We're going to do a little iteration on the design and then get back to you on it. And that's it. That's it. So anyway, yeah, this is lining up like perfectly to the scan. And I think the scan, the thing was like rattling around. Don't reveal our secrets. That's what I'm all about. That's my client forward attitude. Actually, I do feel as though this was dangling down because we got the good scan. One of the parts of the good scan we got when it was resting on the table. And then on the other one, it was dangling. But like, how close is that break piece when this is all the way reset? One sec. Take a look over here. Experimentally figure this out. Yeah, so it's going to be a little bit further forward. Oh, but there is a gap there when those are... I should have put a clamp on this when we scanned it. That would have been a better idea. I didn't know how much of this we'd be using. Yeah, so maybe even further forward from where it is right now. Well, you know what? We're gonna design it based on what we scanned, and when it's wrong and I don't have as much adjustment as I want, I will extrude further. I don't think this is gonna be as phallic as I thought it would look. I thought we were gonna end up with something that looks a little bit more like, you know, because I mean, that's kind of phallic. That's kind of phallic. But we're not gonna end up with something that looks like that. It's not gonna look like that. So, okay, we're going to start with a sketch that's just on this. So we're going to finish that position there. That's going to be the initial position of our sensor. And then I'm going to put 2 fasteners here, and then we'll go up to that, and it'll be like a little triangle. So when I hit the brakes, it's probably going to try to go up, and maybe it'll break it that way. Or it'll compress directly against the thing of the same angle, and we'll be okay. That's bad luck. Phallic designs always work. Just look at rockets. Yes, all those billionaire rockets that are launching themselves up into low Earth orbit to rub against one another. They could do that privately, but they've got to do it in front of the entire world. You'll get clamps. This one time at Band Clamp, Okay, so now now that we've finished the mechanical positioning step, we can do a sketching step and then an extruding step, and then we can do a chamfer step, and we can do a 3D print. That's how we do these things. And then we'll do it again because we're going to get all the dimensions wrong. Okay, so create a sketch. And then now my sketch is based on that plate. I need also to project with the P button. So projection isn't just for conservatives. You can also use it to move things from a physical dimension that you can access in Fusion, into your sketch, and then you can sketch based on that physical dimension. Now, if that moves, it will move in the sketch, and all the elements that I anchored to that dimension will move with it. So you got to kind of think about that when you're putting together your parts. And if you do it properly, you can do some pretty amazing stuff, like alter things. Like I want that to be over here now because it broke. And everything will move with it. It's pretty cool. If you think in that way properly, it's I don't know how to get back to the original sketch view that was at the same. I could finish it and open it again, and I guess that's one way to do it. But well, before I do that, I need to kind of sneak in over here. This is probably where that 3D connection mouse would make sense. And I'm actually I'm not gonna project this because you can see they modeled threads. Whenever they model threads, there will be a center of this, but it might not be the actual center of that piece of hardware. So if I actually go to the circular stuff, either here or here, I can hit P, I can project this whole plane onto it, and then I'd have both. But I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just take the base of the collar here and project that, and then that circle brings with it a center point. So everything get out of my view. This is too busy. I will not be able to work with this. If I just get all of the elements that I don't need out of the way, now we have all of our significant points. I'm going to finish the sketch and go back into it so it doesn't look so awkward. There we go. I don't know if that's an orthographic view or not. I think it probably is. I don't know how to get it into ortho when you're not in ortho. So we need a radius around this, and it doesn't need to be super duper tight to the actual hardware. Let's just take a measure of the outsides of the threads. So that's an M5. So we're going to do like 5.4. Every bit of plastic that I'm able to give this is going to count, though. So I do have to... Okay, why are we thinking about this so much? Whoa, whoa, whoa. Weird. Is the center of the beam going to be right here? Oh, it is. Oh, perfect. And I need a distance from that center. Cool. Very cool. Totally can see everything that I need to see here. I like put my finger on the screen. And then we can just eyeball. So somewhere inside of that, so probably somewhere around 20 millimeters. Again, this is the site measurement system. Get it close, doesn't matter. So I'm gonna go 20 in each direction. Make sure I don't have a little line segment in there. Doesn't look like I do. 20 in each direction. And then we were 6.5. By the way, you can't see it here because the tool's obscuring it. I'm hitting the X key on the keyboard in order to go in and out of having a construction line. What is that one? Is that a mirrored line? There's maybe a faster way that I could do this if I learned how to actually use the software. If I hit X, you see it highlights that. That means it's a construction line. That means it's a dotted line. These solid lines, Fusion is looking for sort of space inside of the solid lines, sort of like you would like with a font on a computer. If you want to draw the letter F, how do you draw it? You could draw it as an F in lines, or you could draw it as the outline of the letter F, and then the inside of that letter F would be what Fusion sees as an extrudable like area on a sketch. The dotted lines don't count towards that. They help you do your dimensions. So like these should not probably be in green. I don't know what's making them. I guess the green is fine. We are currently centered to a projection from a component that we put in a location that's based on the origin. So from origin to where this piece is at the angle of this piece, at the angle of the other parts that are based on origin. We have a center that has a certain distance on it that's locked into place. The color scheme here could really use some work. I don't like the light green on the slate. The slate color background needs something other than light green because I can't see those numbers unless I click on them. But they're still working on it. They're relatively new to this night mode thing. So, okay, so we're doing, in a non-construction, we're 13 millimeter for the outside of the bolt. These bolts are kind of beefy. They're not cap heads. They're these like pan heads that are 6 millimeters. So this is going to be 6.2. At this size, it's at the 6 millimeter and below. I use plus and minus 0.2 to do friction fit versus slip fit. And as it gets smaller, it gets different. It is much different dimensions because of the squish out of the layers of PETG. So that's going to be, man, that looks weird. Why does that look uneven? It's just me. It looks kind of uneven to me. We really are just making the little chodiest little. So I guess what I want to do is 6 layers of plastic is going to be how big? I don't like the forces on this thing. I wish I could like put stuff up here, but there's just not space. We just are getting it kind of close. It's hopefully going to press flat against that instead of trying to have it slip up or down. So we just have to make sure that this is strong. So I guess we're going to make a slot and center to center because it's going to be from the center of this to center of this. And we'll take it out to like, I don't know. Let's see. Those are what, 20? Or no, those are 13. Yeah, maybe we'll take it out to 20 and we'll see if that collides with anything. And I'll do another one. Here. I think I can just base it on. Nope. What is that? What is that? Why is that there? Isn't that supposed to represent the... Oh, I see. Okay. Well, I don't like that. So let's just give it a driven dimension of 20. And then I'll go line to line over here. Okay. So maybe could take it like here to there. That doesn't quite do it. Oh, hit escape. When your drawing gets as cursed as we have it right now and you don't start over with new components and stuff, the software needs to think for a little while when you do stuff. If I do like a 3-point square, I could go boom, boom, and then down. And I guess that would make the bottom piece. I mean, or I could just use a line and do right angles. Just like that. And then I take the bottom piece, make it solid. There we go. So there's our part. Let's see if it actually fits within the space that I want it to. Why is that acting weird? Oh, you know the way that these rectangles do it? They, even if you drive it to a point and it says it's going to associate with that, it like unassociates. I don't know why it does that. Now it's associated with that and it's locked in. Sometimes the tool just doesn't work. I think it's a software issue. I could actually go through, hold on, let's go through and constructionize these inner ones. This is going to give me fewer things that I need to click on in order to make this. Oh, that needs to be. Wait, does it? No, it's still enclosed. No, it's not. Okay. One of these needs to be. That's weird. Okay, maybe I made more work for myself by doing that. That's a possibility. All right, finish this. One way to do it would be to do the whole outside in construction lines and then just use the line tool and the arc tool to go over it again. And then that would make a sort of enclosed area that would represent the whole part that we're making, but we can just click on some weird stuff and it'll work out. Because I don't think I can make this edge into a construction line because that is the edge of the plane that we're using to sketch on. weird. It's just weird stuff. I could probably get through all of it, but let's take a look at this. And we're going to fit pretty plainly inside of there. That's nice. So now we need to extrude it. You know what? I think I want that. Yeah, I want that. Hold on. Wait a minute. Come back. You are now an official line. Actually, no, you're not. Neither of you are. You're both kicked out of the line club. You're not allowed to be a line in this club. We'll put a circle on top of it and just put it out to that radius. And then the computer will forget that we made it that radius. So I'm going to use an equal tool. That is equal to this. There. Okay, now that's official. And we can extrude that as a post. Because I don't need the whole thing to be... Yeah, we only need like a couple millimeters for these bolts. Like 3 max. 3 millimeters will cover the completely flat pan head of these things. I don't think I'm going to put a washer on it. A washer would help me spread out the weight a little bit, but I think in the way that it is, these pan heads already do spread out the weight pretty nicely. They look like this here. Let's get this is closer. That's an uncalibrated camera, but you can see here the pan heads already spread the weight out quite a bit. Although from what I hear, a washer will help keep it from backing out. But let's just try it like this, and we'll just do it from here. So finish that sketch, take a look at our beautiful work, and then extrude the base plate. The base platen. You call things platens when you want to sound smart. Instead of saying plate, you go, the platen. And everybody goes, whoa, that's a weird word. It kind of sounds like plate. It must mean plate, but like for smart people. That's 4 millimeters. 4 millimeters, I think, is a nice depth for our screws to get things to kind of stick in place. I hope, anyway. We'll try that. Let's take a look at the piston. He said platen, and it sounded so smart. Oh my God. Okay. Okay, so we are approaching. 4 millimeters gets us to the thing. And that'll be where our feet go. So let's okay that one. And then I'm going to have to do some shenanigans here. I'm going to have to unview the body, which is unceremoniously named body 5, and then extrude and just highlight everything around these. And bring the body back in, because if the body is visible, this is true of bodies, of extruded bodies. If they come into contact with one another and they're visible, they will automatically weld together. And you can change that. You can change that behavior in the menus. You can have it make a new body. You can have it do all kinds of other operations. But for us, that's a totally fine thing to have happen. And we'll just use the view and unview tools in order to control that if we need to. And we're going to start from an object. And that would be this face right here. We're going to go another 4 millimeters. And that will be the cover over of our screws and all the material that we'll probably need in order for this to hold together. I'm using 4 millimeters as an arbitrary measurement that I'm used to using. Nothing really too special about that. That just gives us an 8 millimeter thing that's going to attach to this thing. And hopefully it's enough material that it doesn't shear into a billion pieces as soon as I put my foot on it, which I am squatting, biblical forces through this 3D print. Through this minimal 3D print. That looks a little bit, just a little bit chody. Just a little bit, maybe like something that you would not want to share with the class. So now we'll just do that part. And we'll start from object. And now we are kind of running into a limit here. So we want to go up and leave room for our hardware. So I don't know if we're going to need too much. I'm going to go something like 2 millimeter. Because, I mean, just looking at oh, that thing's huge. I don't know what those emotes are. Like, at minimum Mushroom Man. We're like that. How many millimeters is that? I haven't calibrated this camera, so everything's a little bit washed out. Did you know that your calipers are on even when they're off? The display just turns off. At least in this kind. So if you move the calipers while they're off, you still get a good measurement. It's like 5 millimeters from the top. So 5 millimeters from the top. Let's just see where 2 millimeters gets us to. And we'll use this tool, the measure tool, to go from here to here. 4 point something, something, something. So I think that's good. I think that's all we need. Why have the level change? I probably don't need to even have that. It just makes it look fancy. I need to see those emotes on Twitch because I don't understand what I'm looking at. Toucan? It's some kind of a... Oh, it's a toucan. I see it now. Cute. Mine always start from 0. They're not smart. Are you sure? Maybe if they're cheap, but like most calipers, turn them off, move them, turn them on. See, it still knows. How do it know? It keeps hot things hot and cold things cold. Actually, what you're supposed to do with a thermos is put hot water in it first, like boiling hot water for a little while, pour it out, and then put your soup in and keep it hot all day. But how does it know? Well, because you prime it ahead of time and it's an air gap. But anyway, they cost $20. Oh, okay. As long as you know their weaknesses, because man, the Mitutoyos are nice. They're super nice. They're pristine. They came from Harbor Freight. Okay, yeah. There's also an origin button on this if you ever you want to avoid that like the plague, because these are, you know, they know, but sometimes they can lose sight. So and check them, put them all the way back to 0. Yeah, that works. 209.1, 209.1, 0.1, 209.1, 0.1. Super good. All right, that's it. That's all she wrote. I was hoping it would look a little bit more penile in that it would have more stuff sticking out up here. And then I was going to do this funny joke where we did a chamfer that was 2 different distances to make it kind of look like the head of a penis. But it turns out it looks more like an engineered object than anything else. So we don't have the fun ability to make it look phallic. So we're just going to roll with this. I want to keep that bolt in there because it's possible that this thing is going to have to move significantly. And so I can use that bolt to adjust it. The thing is, like, I don't know, that measurement based on how much of this sticks into that, because it's gonna want to go like that, right? It's just both elements are pushing against each other. And so however many threads I've got sticking down into this thing is putting like a side force on it. It's not very linearized is what I'm saying. I spent a little bit of just draw a penis on it. That's true. The drawing tools are quite nice in this piece of software. Hashtag sponsored stream. I could emboss a little dick down here. We all need a little dick down every now and then. Anyway, so the forces on it. I've done a project where we were evaluating how much force a nurse would put into an auto-injecting pen when taking the cap off. Why? I don't know. It's like it's like a weird thing to measure. Why would you want to know? Why do you need to know that? It's like I need to know the measurements of their toes. And you're like, why do you need that? I know what you are. But anyway, they had people come in and they would try to uncap this auto-injector pen. What I did is I took the auto-injector pen and I machined some Delrin like slides on it in order to linearize the force, and then had a miniature load cell that stuck out of the window. And so this thing wouldn't move at all, and the nurses would try to uncap it. But the important thing was that the load cell is measuring one axis. It's not a multi-axis load cell. It's measuring one axis where the thing bends. And so you want to linearize that force on that axis so that you know your numbers are not somebody pushing it like this or like that. Anyway, yeah, so point is, linearizing the force is not really going to super happen in this thing. Then again, this is a brake pedal on a giant man baby toy. I don't really need to care that much. We're not getting an exact kinematic measurement of the amount of force that an ancient BMW brake pedal puts into the master cylinder. We don't need that. We can have line goes up and man baby goes hee and the car stops. That's all we need to do. As long as this thing doesn't just like shear itself into bits immediately. Otherwise, I am going to have to drill it out of aluminum. I don't want to have to do that. So let's try to 3D print this. Boy, oh boy, if you have your 3D print set up and you've sort of done the hello world due diligence, knowing what leads to what, but they don't know what is what, they just strut. If I do make this go all the way up to this face, what'll happen is this face will press into the 3D print, and then this face will rest against the edge face. This is the more expensive version of this load cell. It's the same dimensions. It's got like a little cut in here that ours doesn't. Ours doesn't have that cut in. Ours is just flat. So what'll happen is the 3D print will machine itself into pressing flat against that thing, and then we won't get a good reading. So we need to have that bolt there, which makes this look a little weird. Anyway, when you're all calibrated and set up for 3D printing, it's as easy as just exporting your body. Hold on, I gotta make this look like matte plastic. There we go. The appearance menu is my favorite menu in Fusion. It just makes your stuff look a little bit more dynamic. Okay, so this should be as easy as, well, we got to give it a snappy name. So now it has a name that we can identify. Give it a version number 2. Oops, forgot. Wait, snappy name. As we iterate through. Save as mesh. I don't touch any of the settings. I just hit OK, and that'll dump it into a temp prints folder on the desktop. From there, I take Super Slicer, which is not open right now. Let's open another program. Hooray! Where did Super Slicer go? Is it on this monitor? There it is. I've been using Super Slicer because it works. This is the last version that I used and it works. I know there are new versions. I know there are other things that I should be using. But the 3D print people are, sometimes they are actually Linux people, and they're completely insufferable. And if you have an old version of something, they need to let you know. They need to let you know. I don't need to know that I have an old version of Super Slicer or Clipper or any of that stuff because it works right now. And getting the work out is more important than being on the latest thing. At some point, I can move everything over, move it all over, tear out my hair trying to get it work because, oh, something weird happened. But I don't want to deal with that right now. If it works, then don't fix it. The problem is features, and actually there are certain things that don't work on my printer. I don't have a fan on it right now, so I can't do bridging, especially not with PETG. But again, if we're just printing out little attachment brackets and such, I don't really need to do anything. Oh, here. Bonk. And then let's place this on the ground. And nothing to it, no supports, very simple part. We just need to go into our print settings and turn it into 6 millimeter perimeters. We're gonna do 6 layers of perimeters. Bother, why would you do that? You don't need to have that much. Exhibit A. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. This has 6 millimeters of perimeters. Even then, there's a little bit of an indentation, and that was from me just gently hitting the brakes. So this is still, doing this in PETG is still highly experimental. Sorry, iterative. It's highly iterative. Slice that B. And what infill are we using? Gyroid. I guess gyroid's okay. Why are they doing that? Oh, because of the different, yeah. That's still gonna be a tank. But I fear that that'll separate out a little bit. I mean, that column is pretty strong. Oh, and we need more floor. 5 layers is a bit much. 4 maybe. That's a little stronger. Maybe we'll go to rectangular, not rectilinear. The last time we actually chose our infill. Where is that? Is it on here? Infill. We chose rectilinear. Rectilinear is a grid, but the grid is one direction on one layer, the other direction on the other. So it skips out on the centers. What we want is, what is that one again? It's called... I don't think monotonic. Grid, maybe? I think it was grid. That's unfortunately going to take our print time up a little bit. 21 minutes. Oh, so we can do a yeah, grid. Grid is going to be strong in compression. Okay, so before I send this, because usually I'd just be able to hit this button and send it directly to the printer. What I need to do is make sure that my printer's up. The Raspberry Pi and the Raspberry Pi and the printer itself are on separate power buttons. One's in the front, one's in the back. So it's possible that I need to restart the whole thing. All right, I'm gonna restart everybody. Let me go hit some power buttons and we'll wait for this Raspberry Pi to get back up on the network. That's the thing about the sim setup, is that it won't be as agile as microcontroller based sim setups, because it's going to have a whole ass Raspberry Pi running it. So when I hit the power button on the sim setup, I'm going to have to wait like, I don't know, a couple minutes for the Raspberry Pi to get up and on the network and everything. It's not that big of a deal when your setup is like as extensive as this thing is. It's going to be. All right, let's give that just a minute. How's my glucose level doing? Here it is. Ah, damn it. Yeah, a little sticky, but it's actually not as dramatic as they used to be. So I've sort of halved one of my meds. So the hyperglycemia needs a little bit more insulin, which puts more insulin in my body, which means I'm storing more fat. But that insulin keeps me from going diabetic ketoacidosis, because for a little bit there, I was feeling kind of ketoacidosity in the middle of the day. So I was like, we're going to have this one med. All right, refresh. I should probably automate this type of thing, the restarts. Updates available. Let's ignore it this time. Too many updates. All right, so connect. That gives us a version number. Let's lower the BL touch. I hear a click. That means we're connected. Okay, cool. So that's all ready to go. All I need to do is on Super Slicer, I hit send the G code and then I send and print. And then we get started. This is going to be in the middle of this printer, which is not probably a great place for it to be. But I'm gonna move you guys over because we got a 20-minute print, which will put us into, yeah, that's good timing. We'll be able to get it up onto the setup, and then I can test the brake pedal and see if I like it or if it blows up. Now I need to move you guys without disturbing the USB cable, because if anything happens to the USB cable, this camera will freeze, and then I have to like restart the computer to get it to run again. I have some procedures for getting these cameras back, but actually I can put you guys down here. Oh no, the cable might not reach. Yeah, well, cool. We can move you guys over here. I have a little little camera thing that I can clip you guys to at the front of the printer. A shame you can't see the screen at the same time. I need to like put the controller like right over like to the side of this thing. Just this doesn't support anything like that. There you go. If we need more light, I can do this. Although I can't really mount it anywhere. Oh. No, it doesn't work. I need something that this light can stick to, or that'll hold this light separate so you guys actually can see what's going on. But there's nothing over here. It's like a magnetic little rechargeable light that I thought would be perfect for this, but I don't have anything that it'll stick to. Nope. I need to get one of those posable lights. All right, so this is just heating up. It's just doing its thing. Put on head. No. No, because my head is all the way over here now. You get no benefit from that light. All right, so print underway. Print bed. Oh, I need to clean it. Hold on. I need to get that little run out over there removed. Of course, it's going to be like super stuck to the printer because it's heating up the bed right now. And then I'll get the PETG to stick. That wasn't so bad. Not very warm. That is a 120 volt heater on the heat bed. And then I've got 24 volts running through the whole thing on a very expensive power supply. That was one of the estate sale items. Celia Russell subbed for 99 months. All right. Now's the time to stop subbing to Oh Bother. You've made it to 99. You don't need to go any further. You got to stop at 99. No, you're going to go to 100, aren't you? I'm okay with it. That's so much time, though. 100 months. It's probably a 100-month streak, too. All right, what's the image? It's an Imgur link. That's a bagel. That's not kitties. That's a bagel. Yeah, that's just a bagel. It's like sped up weirdly, though. Why are they moving like that? Why would you speed that video up? Makes it look weird. Oops. Nope. Nope. There we go. I guess maybe one thing that Mainsail could save me from is having this kind of calibration going on. I could turn it to a more randomized calibration. I'll stop at 10K. Oh my God. We'll all be dead. Well, I very much appreciate your subbing 100 times, Celia, ahead of time. You know, we got one more month until that happens, but still, very much appreciated. We're doing a quick print. We're making a little chode, just a little chode, and that is going to hopefully withstand the force of my foot against it, breaking, B-R-E-A-K and B-R-A-K-E, breaking the BMW pedals into the load cell, which is, I think, a 70 kilogram load cell. 833 years. There you go. We'll be heads in jars. What's another 400 years of streaming? That's like a biblical punishment is what that is. So this is a Creality CR10S that I've upgraded to no end. I put linear bearings on the thing because every couple years this thing would kill all the Delrin rollers because I probably tensioned them all poorly. It has a Hymeria hot end, which is a direct drive hot end running at 24 volts, and it's using CAN bus so that there's only 4 wires going up to the hot end. There's an accelerometer on there. There's a whole bunch of other features, but we got the BL Touch. I changed the Hymeria hot end to a Noctua, to a Hawk Tua fan, which is quiet. And I've got quiet motor drivers with an SKR 1.4 some such driver board on it. Love seeing 3D printers work. It's magic. If it's only a 20-minute print, if it's going to be a multiple hour print, I'm going to save you guys from that and just, you know, move on. Uh-oh, we got a booger sticking up. The question is that booger going to get ironed down, or is it going to bring with it the entire perimeter? It's not looking good. Sometimes what I'll do is I'll intervene and I will just grab the print off the bed, that little perimeter, because when there's a little break in it like that, it can like curl in on itself and then it'll end up grabbing some of the print. I need to put like some LEDs around that print head so you guys can see what's going on. After 10 years of printing, I don't feel the magic. There's a little bit of drama though that's going on right now with the with that perimeter getting caught. Now, let's see. I guess it's okay. Looks okay. Yeah, I was interpreting the light spot right there as a break in it, but it looks like it's okay. Yeah, these bottom layers should hopefully be very, very strong. Because it's not only compression, it's also, I believe, going to be a pulling force in this direction, or rather a pushing force in this direction when I hit the brakes, because it's going to want to slide up on its axis. So who knows what'll actually get killed by this thing. I need like, how can I mount this? I'm looking around for stuff. I have like a plant light that I might be able to, well, no, but the plant light has oh, maybe we could just do that. There we go. That's going to fall off from the vibration of the printer. Best I can do. That nozzle might be more PETG than brass. I have not cleaned it recently. It's doing okay. There's a little bit of stringiness around it. The Hymeria hot end uses those one-piece necks, and there was rubber around it, and I guess that's supposed to help you unscrew it, but we're dealing with PETG temperatures and running into like the PETG sticking to the rubber and stuff, so that rubber piece is gone. It's gone. So it looks kind of a little bit horrible underneath my 3D printer, but it works. I mean, it's putting down, look at how smooth that layer is. That's a smooth layer. You can't see it, but I can assure you that it's smooth. Oh, did it kick up a little bit right there? Probably because of the speed that it's going. Yeah, the silicone stock is to seal the printer, oh, from airflow when you have a parts fan. I see. I don't have a parts fan. No fans on this printer. We print strong stuff. At some point, I do want to get that the CPAP motor running, because that's a 3-phase motor that's quiet, and so I'll have the quietest printer with a decent amount of airflow. One day we'll do that. But if I work on that, everybody's going to yell at me about burn the subs, so there you go. All right, so what's our percentage? 35% through already. We got about 17 minutes left, though, so if you want to go get a glass of water, now would be the time. Now is the time. Wow, 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 wow. Those guys were good in concert. We saw Crystal Method and Orbital. I think it was Crystal Method. I don't think it was Chemical Brothers. I think we saw Chemical Brothers on a different occasion. Orbital does quite a good concert. Holy crap. Do you see the printer with a glass bed that prints in reverse? It looks really cool. I've seen printers with glass beds. This printer has a glass bed. It's not printing in reverse though. I think I did. If it was linked in the Discord, I probably saw it. Disney is working on a gel printer where it actually deposits a gel inside of like a clear gel. What's up, Gonad? How you doing? It has like the weirdest like pipe that comes out of the head of the printer, and it deposits inside of gel, and you have like this birthing ritual of your print where you've got to wash all of the ambiotic fluid off of the 3D print. It's creepy as hell. It's only something Disney would get away with doing. They printed like a handbag, and it was like an impossible shape to print because the gel just supports everything. Yeah, so for the intro music, I was using LTJ Bookham Flatulent because we were playing that yesterday. I was like, oh shit, I forgot about LTJ Bookham. It's called the Positron version 3.2. I see. It's a nice old album. I just played some random stuff that I found, and there's still LTJ Bookham. There's still atmospheric drum and bass. You know, it's the same. It's just a different song. All good stuff, though. What we are printing right now is a chode. We're very simply, we're just printing, it's just a chode. It's just, that's what it is. That's it. Just suggestive parts. This is bolting to, hey Niano, this is bolting to the frame rails, but with 6mm bolts, and it attaches to a load cell that attaches to a spring that attaches to a brake pedal, which is in a weird position right now. And I don't think this is very accurate. So I've left a little space in it so that we can adjust it into position, and then I can hit the brakes and we can see what breaks. BRAKE or BREAK, whichever comes first. I know that it's not going to rip the whole thing apart anymore because it's going to be on a giant aluminum rail that is very well attached, and it'll have an 8mm bolt both here and down here that'll hold this whole thing together. And this thing is built pretty friggin' strong. I don't think I'm going to be breaking this anytime soon. I mean, it's a solid box of aluminum with gussets all over it, so I think that'll be pretty good. We'll have to see whether or not the brake pedal breaks. Why a spring bother? Why would you put a spring in there? Well, the reason that there's a spring in the brake pedal is so that it feels like a crappy car. I put kind of a big spring on it. This big spring, through the force multiplication of the kinematics of the pedal, does not feel like a big spring, but it does feel like a crappy car brake pedal. It'll bottom out, and then the whole thing is just a solid press with no give. So it feels like you're pressurizing bad brake lines and they're expanding a little bit. I love it. I think it's an amazing system, as long as it holds together when I let go of the brakes. In go the rectangle paths. Supposedly the rectangles are good at compression forces. That's how they print bones inside gel. It's kind of cool. Contacted the makers of the machines. They were sending haha in the email when they found out I was a private person. That's funny. Yeah, it's right. Yeah, it's house prices expensive. That sounds right. That kind of tech. I mean, it's still all relatively new, gel printing. The Disney research paper thing was really fascinating on it because they had the video of it printing this thing, and it's really creepy getting your print back. It's really kind of like the Matrix meets Borg. Like, ugh. Now, I could probably make internal solid structures on this thing if I make a separate body that has all of those connections, and I put that into Super Slicer and just have it be a solid fill object. I think it'll print them both, but I don't know. I think it'll slice them in that context properly. Not that new, but it is new for plastic. I see. What is our percentage now? 54. We're getting there. We got 12 minutes to go. I should have grabbed another thing of seltzer. I'm parched because I've been very emphatic today because I'm not tired for once. This should be pretty tidy, though. I mean, we're going to finish this at around, like, what, 4 something, and then we can do the test of it, and whatever the results are, that'll be that for the stream. It's okay. So right now I'm excited because I'm reveling in this, because typically my stream isn't able to have like a good plot, right? And it's weird, like streams, you don't need a plot. It's just live. You just wing it. It's good in media if you have a beginning, middle, and an end to what you're working on. And so today we had a beginning, middle, and an end, and we're going to have an end regardless of what happens to this thing. And then I'll work on it Friday, probably again, if it breaks. This will either work or it won't. These are lessons that we've taken from previous 3D prints and we've applied them to this one. Like for instance, 6 sidewalls means that only presses in just a little bit with that amount of force on this sort of structure. So it's possible with this thing that I will put this into the brake pedal setup, hit the brakes, nothing happens. That'll be a success. And then stream ends, right? And then tomorrow we hack my chair. There is going to be an end. It's called Streams Over, Get Out. That's what I do a lot. Yeah. I just got up and I'm already so tired I can see around corners. I slept as if I was falling down a flight of stairs. I kept waking up like to just pain in limbs that I was lying on. I basically slept in the Yamcha position. But, and it's completely interrupted sleep because doors were slamming and garbage trucks were coming by and all that stuff. Thursday's garbage day, so things are tumultuous in the morning. That said, when I finally, showered and got my cup of coffee, in spite of everything, I actually feel good today. I feel pretty good today. So we're having a good day today. I've been very emphatic. So this is it's not a very long print. We do have to wait for it to cool though. That's going to take a couple minutes. This would be where I would go turn on like flatulent gonad stream and just completely disassociate and just not be a human being for like 20 minutes. And then ding, fries are done. And I would go and grab my print and test it. Those are the days, like the Wednesdays. Throw it in water. No, so PETG, listen, when your print's done, the plastic is about the consistency of like slightly hardened clay. While clay will crumble, plastic will just permanently warp. So when the print cools, I don't want to touch it because it's going to microscopically shrink about 3% for PETG. And then the glass bed is going to shrink at a different rate because it's a different material. So as they do that, the print will loosen itself from the plate. If I really want to be gentle on my print plate, and generally you do, but time is money and all that stuff. So if I let it cool completely down to room temperature, I can walk over to the print, pick it off. It's already detached. If I really, really wanted to, and I was thinking about doing this during COVID when they needed all those mask supports, put the whole printer at 45 degrees, print a whole bunch of stuff on the bed, let it cool, it'll just slide off. And then the only in-between that I do for the prints, every now and then, spritz it with Windex, wipe it off, done. If I threw it in water, the difference in shrinkage, I was in the pool, the difference in shrinkage would be so much that it might warp the part. This part's pretty beefy, so I don't know if it would warp, but there's a chance. So, spring metal beds, I could just grab the plate and throw it in some cold to bring it down. Yeah, people used to put it in like their FR4 boards in the freezer and stuff. You don't need to do that with PETG, and I wouldn't suggest it either. You can just wait. You just wait for things to cool off naturally. I wanted to do a water-cooled 3D printer because they have water-cooled hot ends. I thought that would be really fun to do, is have the hot end water-cooled and then have a valve system that would go off when the print's done, and it would reroute the water to the bed, so it would cool the bed using the water and dissipate it with a big radiator. I thought that was the bee's knees. That would be really fun. I'm the kind of person that should have, because Silly Russell posted a video to the Discord yesterday that got me. It was so they have these like, what are they called, like trough chillers, and it's just an air conditioning like compressor that's got a heat exchanger on it. And it's 4 ice baths. You get into an ice bath at the end of a heavy workout, and that keeps you from a little bit of the pain of like muscle soreness from a heavy workout. It's what like Super Sportsman does, right? I remember my high school spent like billions of dollars on their gym. The second we left, the very second we stepped out the door, all the construction came out and they blew up the whole high school, and then they rebuilt it and it was all super technological and nice. Of course. Thanks. But anyway, so they had those ice baths, and apparently if you're doing super sportsman stuff on your own, you can buy a $500 cooler, plumb it into a little bath, and you can get in your little bath in ice water temperatures. So the YouTuber that Celia had linked was building, was experimenting with a water-cooled computer that uses one of those super duper chilling baths. And that's like the perfect project for O'Bother, because O'Bother has all that stuff already. And O'Bother has multiple different systems in his shop that he could probably put all in the same space and cool. And in addition to all of that, one of the things about O'Bother is that O'Bother knows, in the very, very least amount, how to properly apply Teflon tape to fittings that are supposed to remain watertight. Oh, I didn't mean for this to actually be phallic, but it actually is. So we're staying on topic with this. This is still phallic. The way that the guy did it in the video is first of all, he fit the fitting dry, and then he went, oh, we forgot the Teflon tape. Haha, let's put it on. And then he went to the other side of the same piece, and he went in the other direction. And then he got water everywhere. Oh my God. That's like the price of entry. How does somebody like that spend $500 on this amazing chiller? So the way that you were supposed to use the chiller, the way that they would have used it properly, is if they did get a bath, and it doesn't need to be a whole bath, it could be an insulated container. They could get one of those coolers. And I wouldn't drill holes in the side of the cooler. I don't really believe in that because you're opening, because the cooler's 2 layers and it's just basically an air gap that's supposed to keep the cooler cool. You could probably get a better insulated chamber, but what you would do is you would plumb into a big body of water, and then you could have your water cooling fittings plugging into the other side. It would be tough because you'd probably want to separate the pump from the reservoir. The little water cooling reservoir, chuck that, just have the pump, like one of those acrylic pump holders things. And that way the pump can be below the water level and you're not going to leak all over the place from having an additional reservoir. But you would just have the one big reservoir. The chiller would be chilling the reservoir. Your water cooling pump would be introducing heat at its own rate. So your water cooling stuff and your bath chiller would be 2 separate entities that were working on the same body of water. That's how you would do it. But pervasive idiocy when it comes to that kind of stuff. That was such rage bait, and it got me. I'm going to look at this in like 2 years and be like, what was I doing with my trash fittings? These are what I use for brewing. And basically this setup right here is what I would put silicone rubber tube on. And then I have these little like crush fitting clamps that go on them. That, or do a cut of the silicone rubber tube and fit it around that so that it's just like a little rubber band that holds the thing together. And then the trash fitting tubes, you basically fit this thing on, flare out the base, and it permanently connects, not permanently, it connects with a water seal because it's got all kinds of seals on it. These things are great because you can reconfigure your tube setup very easily. The only problem is those silicone rubber tubes catch dust really well, and so they get kind of gross. You got to like wash them ahead of brewing. And I've used them in computers. Hold on, used them in computers, and they just kind of get gross in a computer because the computer is a very dusty environment. I just can't believe that they didn't even know how to apply Teflon to a plumbing fitting. I guess if you're ordering all the stuff online and you've never done any plumbing in your whole life, in which case I'd say go clean up a toilet. Just go clean a toilet so that I can't say that you look like somebody that's never cleaned a toilet. You know, like, anyway, they understood immediately after the video. They said as soon as this fitting started leaking, they knew that they had done it wrong, and they corrected. They sort of looked up the way to do it. The one thing that they still didn't display in the comments that they knew is to not use white Teflon. The white Teflon is not thick. It would work for the purposes of their testing the fittings. They would have to wrap it a couple times, but I mean, if you're really serious, like get either the blue stuff or, you know, just anything other than the white Teflon. The white Teflon barely works. I don't know how. Yeah, I don't know if he was rage baiting. Yeah. But I mean, he was getting water all over the desk. It was actually, it was a really good video because it was very dramatic and everybody felt smart except for the streamer. There's something to do with, is the blue stuff expensive? I don't remember. I bought this years and years and years ago. And it's just, it's a lot. It's a lot of PTFE. I don't know what the prices are like now. David, the South African dude from Canada. I don't know anything about the channel. I think they're awesome. I will not speak poorly of them. And it did look like immediately after the video, they realized, you know, their mistake and they learned how to do it properly. I'm not sure if they learned that getting the Teflon tape that's not white is kind of a, that's kind of a good thing to do. Although a friend of mine swears by the paste. He says the paste is really good. But I don't really like that. I'd rather use the wrap. But yeah, in any explanation of how compression fittings work, it's like tapered compression fittings. You're supposed to put Teflon in there because no matter how much pressure you put on those threads, there's always going to be a little gap. The foam that I mentioned today, the epoxy, practically expanding epoxy is probably what I'd call it over anything else. Because that stuff, I got to tell you, I literally hit it with a hammer, like a normal hammer, and I hit it as hard as I could, and the hammer just bounced off of it. I think it might have cracked it a little bit. 97%, almost there. Yeah, whoever he bought it from, but I don't think he went to a store to buy all that stuff, because a lot of that stuff came with the kit. It came with the bath chiller. And I think he was just using stuff that he had on hand. So there was nobody there to say, hey, man, here's how you do plumbing. This is one sentence that would save him all the embarrassment of that video. But sometimes that kind of stuff gets more attention because we're talking about it right now, which is the unfortunate calculus of doing YouTube videos sometimes, is that, hey, I'm going to do this wrong. It's going to set everyone off, which is good. He said he needed the adapters in his local plumber store. Ah, I see. So he did actually go through the local plumber store. Well, the local plumber store should probably have picked up on the fact that this guy was a total amateur and said, hey, when you put these together, maybe they just wanted him to learn a hard lesson. When you put these together, maybe you put the Teflon on the threads, but maybe just saying put the Teflon on the threads isn't enough. You got to wrap the Teflon. Oh, wait, maybe they said that too. Wrap the Teflon around the threads is still not descriptive enough. We had a frame in here that was the browser window, but I guess I lost it. So we're going to wait for this to cool. I'm not going to force the issue until these two lines cross. And on my printer, not necessarily on your printer, due to the position of the thermometers, whatever the hell else is going on in the printer, experientially, I know that when those two lines cross, I can spritz it with Windex, and if the part is solid enough, it won't warp. But if it's something super flat and large, I have to wait for the second crossing of those lines, and then I can force the issue and it might not warp. But on the thinner stuff, spritzing it with Windex, the Windex is going to basically go from liquid to gas. I almost said solid. Solid Windex. The Windex is going to go from liquid to gas, take a bunch of energy with it, cool the parts. And then that can cause warping. So I do have to be careful. Yeah, if he was talking to a local plumber, maybe the local plumber could have done like, hey, do you know how to apply Teflon? Although that question, knowing retail, if you're a retail worker and you ask somebody if they know how to put on Teflon, you're going to get just shit back from somebody. I don't know. It makes sense that nobody would have said, hey, maybe, maybe that's not, maybe you gotta learn how to do something. He probably could have looked up one of those YouTube videos that was like everybody's dad YouTube channel. This is the worst part on stream, is just waiting for it to cool. It would be really kind of awesome if I had more LED displays that showed the temperature going down and stuff, and maybe had the, what do you call it? The water cooling stuff, because then we could have valves that flip and I could put little spinny things in the water lines so that you'd know that stuff switched over, and it could be just this very big visual kind of thing. I can do stuff like that. I don't do it as much as I should, but I think it would be really cool to have a water-cooled 3D printer. Maybe one day we'll do that. That means I'm putting 120 volts right where, 120 volts AC, right where all this water is, on something that's flexing and moving. That could maybe fail in a very spectacular way, huh? So it'd be really cool to see the valves flip over and have the bed like return to normal temperature much faster. I don't know if that would cause problems with the print, though. It probably would, considering all the stuff I said earlier. Any minute now. I have to do an errand tonight, so I'm not going to have as much time around my doggy. No, mine is different. My heat pad is a 120 volt pad. So the Creality CR10S 10 years ago, holy shit, that was 10 years. That was actually 10 years ago it's been 10 years of 3D printing. The Creality CR10S uses an aluminum PCB. And so there's copper traces on the underside. There's like, not silicon, but it's like an insulation, then copper traces, then a solder mask on the other side of the aluminum bed. I couldn't remove any of that stuff, right? So that's still there. I'm not using it. On top of that, because I scraped off as much of the material as possible that was there, they put basically like a rubber foam on top of it, and that didn't come off cleanly. It was very annoying. I took acetone to it and scraped it off using my thumbs, and my thumbs hurt afterwards because it was a lot of rubbing, from my thumbs. But anyway, I took as much of that, well, mostly all of that stuff off, and then I put down the 120 volt heat bed, which had its own adhesive and whatever other insulation on the other side. And then on top of that, I put some insulation for like, it's like fiberglass, like insulation for like an engine bay. I put that on top of that. So that's hopefully sandwiching in the heat to the aluminum. But that's those three layers, and then there's a thermometer before that last pad. And then on top of that, I could probably just put water tubes. Or I could peel that stuff off, put water tubes down, and then this stuff. But yeah. I think I don't remember. It was like an adhesive. You can do. It's probably a different product now. Oh, it does have silicone on it, huh? I don't remember what I have. Maybe I do have this. I don't know if I remember it being that texture, though. And I know it wasn't FR4 like this one. Yeah, so it does have a silicone pad on the other side. I didn't know that. Yeah, well, on top of that, I have this stuff. The reflective fiberglass heat pad. I still have a bunch of this material sitting in the other part of the basement. I also use this on the cooking pot for brewing on the outside of it. I upgraded my CR10S at the same time with a 220 volt bed and 80 watt nozzle. Nice. Yeah, you guys get a little bit more punch to the electricity over there. Ours is built so that if you bridge the gap, you don't die as much. All right, let's see if I can get this thing off of there because our lines have crossed. The second crossing is probably the safer time. The stock Ender 3 and similar printers have an alu core PCB, not silicone. But it's not 120 volts. That's what we're saying. The 12 volt bed is an aluminum PCB that's got, you know, the solder mask layer and all that stuff on the other side. That's still there. I just put the 120 volt heater on top of that, and that apparently does have a silicon layer on the back of it. And then on that I put the heat shield just to be thorough. All right, so let's see. This is probably going to take some of the material up with it because I think I need to. I bought 2 of these because I like them so much. I probably need to replace the glass. So there should be a crackling noise that accompanies that. And there's not. No crackling. When I think about the future. All right, nothing. So we got to wait a little longer. I guess it is the second crossing. Yeah, some people like dig in to try to get the print to move. I don't like doing that because, again, these white spots are spots where the Teflon has come up. I believe it's Teflon. I'm not sure. All right. Just a little chode. There's a little thing. Let's go take a look at it. Just give it another minute or two to cool. Off bed. Bamboo Labs P1S uses a heating cable for a floor in its bed at mains voltage. So it's floor heating. That's kind of fun. Floor heating is really important in the houses that I live in. I'm in a neighborhood where like a lot of the houses look exactly the same because they were all built at the same time in the 90s, and all they did was take design elements from each blueprint and sort of randomly scatter them. So all the houses are pretty much the same here. And so the master bathroom's bedroom. The master bedroom's bathroom is above the garage. And so this season is the season for cold feet, and people have to run space heaters and stuff. Look at that. Can I cook or can't I? Beautiful. Take a closer look. Take a closer look at my completely awesome work. A lot of tuning went into this printer. Oh, that looks a little weird up there. But for the most part, it's exactly the part we designed, just with little crosshatch stitches on it. And these weirdo bolts that I bought that have very low pan heads. You'll have to excuse all the glitching on this camera. I think it's funny most of the time, but the camera's not calibrated, so it's got kind of a weird like trail thing going on. That's just from the camera not being calibrated properly. But yeah, so this is half a millimeter. No, that's a full millimeter larger than the calipers anticipated, and it's barely a slit fit. So when the parts get larger, those plus minus dimensions need to also follow. And then this piece here. Chat, I said there would be innuendo in this stream, and did I lie? That's a little loose though. I may have to tighten that up in future iterations. Yeah, that one needs to be a 0.2 instead of, but the threads, I don't really need the threads to engage. I just need the bolt to press on the entire thing and straight into the aluminum. So, all right, let's try to put this back together, or let's try to put this together and then give it a stomp it under my beautiful foot. Why do you say it like that? Wait, chat, why did he say it like that? He said it in kind of like a weird, it's a little perverted, I guess. I don't like the way that made me feel. All right, so where are my 6mm? Those are these. Okay. I have all this stuff organized in a box. So I got these guys, I got these guys, and I got a wrench that's on my desk. All right, let's go over here. I know what you are. You owe me a Michelin. All right, hold on. All those Dokes memes being all relevant again. It's hilarious. Even though that show kind of fell off. I didn't know that the two Morgans, Dexter and his sister, were actually married in real life. That recontextualizes a lot of the creepy uncomfortableness of all of their scenes together. You guys are not going to be able to see me install this. I did try one of those other plastic beds one time, the flexible plastic bed that you can use, and I printed PETG onto it. And apparently my PETG temperatures were so high that it just welded together. So I have this bed material that's got a couple little like filament lines on it that are just permanently on it. It was a big mistake. They were just permanent attachments. All right, so these are roll-in, not roll-in nuts for this stuff. So you kind of push it in and you twist it, and then it's got a little spring on it that just kind of holds it in place. And I have to get that into the center of these brakes. Oh boy. I think I can slide it in from the side, maybe. We shouldn't have any super impossible operations here. These should all be doable by a human. Are these close enough together that they can, yeah, they can, I think they can. Yeah, they can face inwards. I should have like a head cam, and then you guys would be able to see what I'm seeing. I might be able to get you guys a little closer in. Hold on, let's twist this a little here. This thing is just going to get heavier and heavier. Okay, as long as I don't block chat. What are you guys saying over there? This is what I've been doing all week. This little sachet. You didn't know that? Yeah, that's... all you need now is a Ferrari engine. Those come up on eBay every now and then. It does have wheels. But actually, the wheels aren't down right now. I've just been sliding it. The little feet on those wheels are not very sticky. This is the really cool looking way that I get from one side of the rig to the other. Yeah, the little wheels are not deployed. All right, this is why when working on cars, you get so tired when you work on things like the brakes. That one's in the wrong way. Oh well. Because you need to kind of contort yourself into these spaces that don't want you there. How do I get this thing in there? Hold on a sec. You guys can probably only see the back of my head right now. I will try to move myself out of the way in just a sec, but right now I need to align at least one of these. And probably better if I had the tool in there at the same time. So now I have to lift both of my arms, and the whole of my weight is on the bottom beam, which is, let me tell you, it's not that comfortable. Come on, baby. Come on, baby. Come on, baby. Nope, that's not it. Man, I got caught up on Fallout. Holy shit. Good show. They did a really good job. And apparently, they did a really good job of keeping people who don't know Fallout up on their Fallout. There's a lot of people, a lot of the Fallout fans, who I will say are really kind of embarrassing, that don't like what the show's doing with some pieces of the lore. And, you know, no spoilers, because it was literally Wednesday that the show came out. Tuesday night, but I have to say that I'm really impressed with what they've done. They actually made a show about a video game that doesn't like outwardly suck. And apparently, I only heard this through Kriken's chat last night, Bethesda's being approached to do an Amazon show with Elder Scrolls lore as well. And you know, that's inevitable. But I guess I feel like Elder Scrolls probably lends itself to this stuff a little better, because the lore, while the lore is really tight, the stories can be really discombobulated from one another. So you're not really going to be running into somebody else's story if you make a show about a specific set of events, you know? All right, so from what I can peek in on, this is relatively centered. I don't really have a good center on this. I'm going to tighten these down just a little bit. and then I'll come up and look at chat, and then we got to wedge the spring in here. Which shouldn't be all that hard to do. Okay, woo, that wasn't so bad. That was a relatively easy install, and now my 3D print is just sitting in the middle of all of that. And if I had another camera that I could get a little bit closer, I would have shown it to you guys in better detail, because you can't really see inside of there. It's just sitting, just like it is in CAD, it's just sitting right there in the middle of things, ready to explode when I hit the brake. But look at the cool way that I've moved from end to end. What's up, Plush Master? Could you have a crash simulator on it too? A piston that shoots the wheel into your chest. Actually, in order to get the wheel to be a little bit more compact, we did put the steering shaft into a crash position. The steering shaft sort of telescopes on itself in order to not impale you during a crash. And I do have a 600 millimeter linear actuator. I could also do that, and I could have the airbag explode and give me burn scars. I could do that. I could do that. I could do these things. I'm not going to do these things. Yeah, it doesn't have small wheels. It just has like plastic pads. I'm going to put some silicone on the pads, and then when I deploy the pads, this thing will not be able to move at all. And then I'll have to use the wheels to maneuver it around. All right, so now I got to fit this thing in there. Ah, my spring. I got to fit this thing in there, which I don't know what you guys, down there, there we go. This thing in there, which is a load cell and then a 3D printed just tube. And a spring goes inside of that. And that's to make the brake pedal feel like a piece of crap car with failing brake lines. And then I have to press it in and then get the load cell into its hole so that it's holding it up. That's a pretty good fit. Hold on. There we go. So that's loose. So I'm going to tighten it up a little bit by backing the nut out. Just a bit. And I don't have any locking. I could put thread tape on there to hold it in place, because that is going to move as I hit the brake pedal. But this is just for a test to see what shears out. Okay, so I'm going to have to give it probably like another 4 millimeters so that I can preload the spring a little bit, which means we'll have a little bit of preload on the load cell, but it's still so sensitive that should be able to get a good amount of granularity to our brake pedal. Whew, that kind of hurt. So I am going to have to iterate. I'm going to have to do another print. But let's see what explodes, or if it explodes, when I hit the brakes. And that'll be the end of stream. Forever. Sitting in the seat with a lapel mic. Okay, so clutch pedal, obviously, wonderful. This thing is attached to a little bit, I mean, it's a little bit precarious because only one of those things is attached, but now for the brake pedal, yeah, it's a little spongy, and then I'm just simply bending that stuff. Yeah, that's, okay, so when my beams are probably already here, but when my beams get cut and we put them up and have this whole thing triangulated, this won't tilt as much as it is right now. Like if I push on that, it could untilt it. But that's solid. That's taking the amount of force that I'm putting into it. So I will print one that's a little taller, and then I think that'll solve the brake pedals. And when I get the rest of this stuff in place, I don't know if we're doing that on stream tomorrow because I need to use the circular saw to cut these things. That will finish the brake pedals, at least until, you know, I get around to like jiggling them around to adjust them. But that thing seems strong enough. Our little printout is quite nice. So before I close programs and not save settings, I'm going to go to this last extrusion, and instead of 2 millimeters, I'm going to make it 6. And that'll put a little preload on the spring, and it'll keep the brake pedal from floating around. Looks like 6 millimeter on the model is enough for there to be a gap there. But on the real thing, again, because this spring up here that resets the brake pedal is not as small as it should be, it struggles to pull the brake pedal all the way back. So this way I can just put that nut all the way to the top of the load cell, and it'll compress a little bit. We'll have a little bit of preload on the brake pedal. So I'll take that model, oh, take the model here, save as mesh, don't change the settings, click OK, save over the other file, yes, go to my desktop folder, go to Super Slicer, without changing any of the settings, I'm going to delete the old one, and then we're going to move in the new one. And it's going to be a little bit more back-breaking crawling around on the floor, but put that down on the bed and just move it somewhere weird where there isn't like damaged bed sections. Slice. Print. That's it. So in 20-ish minutes, I'm going to have 24 because it added a bunch of layers to that thing. I will have a part that I will be able to put in there, and that'll be the whole of the pedals solved because we did all the work ahead of time. That's it for today. That's all we're doing today. I'm done. I got to go. It's a little early, but I mean, 4:40 by the time this thing finishes, 4:50, and then it's 5, and then I got to crawl around on the ground again. I'm not going to subject you guys to that. We know that it'll work, and it's not going to be all that visually pleasing when I press on the brakes and nothing happens, because that's what just happened. Press on the brakes, nothing happens, which is good, which means we've engineered it properly. I didn't need to change any of the stuff about that. I just needed to elongate it a little bit, which is my final innuendo. All right. Can I send you somewhere? Can I send you somewhere this fine Thursday? What's up? How's it going, Perkinji? Let me just see who's online. Can I do that? Can I do that, please? Excuse me? Excuse me, can I check? Can I just check who's online? I can't pause it, it's an online game. Cassidoo is on. Brain no work, must work. Coding. Cassidoo is coding. And then it's all the famous people that I don't necessarily want to throw you guys at. Roboz is doing like a climbing game, but most of you are probably already watching Roboz, so yeah, it's just famous people, and Boom is also streaming, but Boom is an acquired taste. Boom works on some pretty heady like 3D modeling stuff. Now, Bother's gone, we can finally talk about sports. I am back on Thursday. I did not make an end card. The end card has the link to the Discord, so the same thing. Sorry, I'm back on Friday. Here, this is the only unique content in my end card, except for like the exact time that it's going to take for me to start the stream again, which in this case is roughly 24 hours, a couple fewer hours, 20 hours. It's going to be like 20 hours, and I'll start the stream up again, and we'll do our thing. Yeah, we kind of ended early because everything worked, because we've been doing this for a while. The stuff that we built was something that's based on a bunch of things that we've, previously exploded with my feet. So this time I would chalk this up as a success. We had one iteration, and that's it. And it's only to take up a little bit of slop in the pedal. That thing just, like, if that were in stereo, you guys would have had quite a speaker workout, because it fell on the right side, it hit the floor on the right, and then it rolled over to the left where it hit something. Anyway, yeah, I'm going to be back tomorrow. We're going to work on more stuff. We might hack into my chair, which we know the signals that we need to send the chair. We just need to kind of shuffle around some software and maybe figure out what checksums are in order to send it the appropriate signals. And maybe, just maybe, we can get it to run, or it'll be extremely frustrating. Either way, it'll be worth it, and I hope to see you there. I'll catch you guys tomorrow. Thank you so much for joining me. Where's, it's not, let's see here.